Chapter 2333. People were always curious about gossip. Chen Zhao was the same. Especially when it was a farce or a tragedy, it was a comedy in the eyes of a bystander. Arhan Terrell isn't an idiot, but his decisions are often like that of an idiot, Bifla said. Bifla said, because his wife cheated, he found the cheater and blackmailed him, hoping to get a large sum of compensation. Chen Zhao was speechless. His wife's lover is very rich and very powerful. Of course, he wouldn't be willing to give money to Arhan Terrell, so he bribed his teacher. After his teacher got the money, he actually helped an outsider to deal with his son-in-law, his student. When Arhan Terrell found out that his wife's cheating partner would rather give the money to his teacher than compensate him, he was furious. He went to his teacher to ask for a share of the money, but his teacher refused. Chen Zhao couldn't understand Arhan Terrell. His wife had put a dirty hat on him, but he wasn't moved at all. Instead, he was using this to get benefits. Then his teacher unilaterally announced that Arhan Terrell had betrayed the sect. At that time, Arhan Terrell didn't do anything against the sect, but he became a traitor. Isn't Arhan Terrell a little too obsessed with money? He's from a low-caste family. He's lived in the slums since he was young. To him, marrying a high-caste woman and earning a lot of money is his life goal. Under the caste system, high-caste women can't marry low-caste men. I can't believe he has such a big goal. To an outsider like Chen Zhao, the caste system was just a joke. But after he left the sect, he blackmailed that rich man for a large sum of money. This time, there were no restrictions, so he didn't have to worry when he blackmailed. In the end, he still gained a lot. Because of this, he fell in love with the benefits of blackmail. In the past decade, he's been blackmailing people. Does no one care about him? That's why I said he's actually a smart person. He's like a fish in water when it comes to blackmailing. He can always avoid the big shots and doesn't leave any evidence. Before they knew it, the two had arrived before a manor. There was a wooden sign at the door with standard slang written on it. Because Chen Zhao had interacted with the gangs in LA before, he could recognize some of them. There was a graffiti of a rabbit holding a shotgun and a smile on the wooden sign. However, Chen Zhao and Bifla didn't care about such slang. What does the pattern on this sign mean? Do you know that there was a war between humans and animals in Australia? I don't know. Bifla shook his head. Due to the rapid reproduction of Australian rabbits, a large number of fields were destroyed by them. Humans began to use all kinds of methods to kill the rabbits, such as smuggling, introducing foxes, and even using human armies and fighter jets to bomb them. In the end, all of them ended in failure. The rabbits won with their terrifying reproductive ability, so the rabbits were used by the gangs later on. They compared themselves to rabbits. As long as there was suitable soil for them, they could survive and reproduce. Nothing could destroy them, and all their enemies would fail. What an arrogant declaration. Just as they were about to enter the manor, they were stopped by the gang members at the gate. The gangster who came out from the guard post had a gun at his waist without hiding it. Stop, who are you people? Smiling, Chen Zhao looked at the gangster. We're here to see Mr. Arhan Terrell. You know Mr. Arhan. The gangster looked at Chen Zhao and Bifla, noticing that they were dressed well. He wondered if they were the representatives of other gangs. In their impression, the representatives of certain gangs were all like them, dressed in suits and leather shoes. Wait. The gangster took out his walkie-talkie. Hey, Mr. Roy, there are two people at the door. They say they want to see Mr. Arhan. Yes. I got it. Who are you people? Why are you looking for Mr. Arhan? You don't need to know who we are, Chen Zhao said calmly. As for why I'm looking for Mr. Arhan, you don't need to know either. You don't think anyone can see Mr. Arhan, the gangster said viciously. Bifla glanced at Chen Zhao. You shouldn't waste too much time with trash like this. Say it. The gangster pulled out his gun and pointed it at Bifla's temple. Say it again. Bifla pointed casually and a pile of ashes scattered in the wind. Look, there's no one making noise in our ears here. Fine, maybe you're right. Chen Zhao shrugged. The gang's headquarters didn't seem to be very well guarded. They had killed a man in public, and no one else knew about it. They walked all the way to the villa, but no one stopped them. However, there were 2 bodyguards in suits standing in front of the villa. Hey, who are you people? Stop right there. Bifla and Chen Zhao didn't stop. I told you to stop. Didn't you hear me? The 2 bodyguards pointed their guns at the 2. But the next moment, the 2 turned into ashes. They pulled open the glass door and saw a group of people gathered inside. They seemed to be having a meeting. They were all spiritualists. Arhan Terrell stopped talking and frowned at the 2 intruders. He frowned at the 2 intruders. Who are you people? Who's Arhan Terrell? Chen Zhao scanned the crowd. Because there were 3 or 4 dark-skinned Indians here, Chen Zhao couldn't recognize Arhan Terrell. Arhan Terrell looked at Chen Zhao and Bifla. You better answer my question immediately. I'm not a patient person. Coincidentally, we're not very patient people either. Chen Zhao looked at Arhan Terrell. You must be Arhan Terrell, right? Why are you looking for me? I was invited by Cliff and Ampa to help them solve their problem. Right, the couple that you blackmailed 2 days ago. They invited you to help them solve their problem. Arhan Terrell narrowed his eyes and looked at Chen Zhao and Bifla. Did you bring money? We didn't, but we still brought our sincerity. We personally came to tell you that this matter ends here. Ha! That's very sincere. Arhan Terrell laughed loudly, and the others followed suit. Chapter 23:34. Suddenly, Arhan's expression turned furious. He slammed the table in front of him. The table was smashed into pieces by Arhan Terrell. Arhan Terrell's face looked like he was wearing a mask, revealing a hideous and terrifying face that did not belong to a human. At the same time, a 3-meter-tall Dharma appeared behind him. What gave you the courage? Do you really think that I can forgive your offense with just a few words? I'll also make you commit the great sin of blasphemy. Arhan Terrell exuded an indescribable pressure. Everyone's expressions turned solemn and respectful. Blasphemy. Is he telling us that he's a god? Bifla and Chen Zhao both looked at each other with contempt. At their level, they'd seen all kinds of things. The guy in front of him who had turned into such a strange appearance had the nerve to call himself a god. Wasn't the title of god too cheap for him? Seeing Chen Zhao and Bifla's disbelief, Arhan became even more furious. Arhan Terrell was even angrier. The 3-meter-tall Dharma behind him pointed at Chen Zhao. A beam of black light shot toward Chen Zhao. The black light landed on Chen Zhao and he took a step back. Bifla stared at Chen Zhao in shock. He didn't think that Chen Zhao would be pushed back. Even if he had only taken a small step back, this small step meant a lot. This meant that Arhan Terrell could shake Chen Zhao. But Arhan's shock was no less than Bifla's. He'd used that attack to establish his dominance, so he hadn't held back at all. But his full-powered attack had only made Chen Zhao take a small step back. It wasn't reasonable, very unreasonable. The spell he used was one of the most powerful spells of Hinduism. It was a spell of Shiva. It was said that anyone hit by it would be sent flying, unless they had the power of the Ganges River. Even if a mountain were to stand in front of him, it would still be shaken. Of course, Arhan's power wasn't that great. But in the past, everyone hit by his spell would definitely be sent flying. Most of them would be corpses. Even if they didn't die, they were heavily injured. No one would only take a small step back like Qin Zhao did. Qin Zhao was the one who found it the most unbelievable. Because he didn't feel any irresistible power. This power was far from being able to shake Qin Zhao. However, he was still forced back a step by this force. You were moved by him? Bifla asked in astonishment. I don't know. His power is a bit strange. I wasn't pushed back by his spell. I was pushed back by this power. Is that so? Bifla looked at Arhanterol. Try attacking me with that spell. Arrogant, let me be your opponent. A man stood up next to Arhanterol. He was also of Indian descent. His aura wasn't weak, only half a level lower than Arhanterol's. Bifla glanced at the man and said, small fries shouldn't disturb me. Bifla casually snapped his fingers. In an instant, the body of the man that Bifla called a small fry was instantly ignited. Ah, save me, save me, the others hurried forward to help extinguish the fire. But no matter if it was normal fire or magic, they couldn't extinguish the flames on the man's body. The man only struggled for a moment before he lost his voice. He fell to the ground and twitched a few times before he stopped breathing. How dare you kill my people? Arhanterol was even more furious. Kill them. The others also shared the same hatred. Under Arhanterol's command, they all pounced at Qin Zhao and Bifla. Bifla snapped his fingers again. Apart from Arhanterol, everyone was ignited. Qin Zhao looked at Bifla. Did you create this spell based on a supervillain in a movie? I've been using this spell for a long time, Bifla said proudly. If someone had to copy someone, it would be him. However, Arhanterol wasn't so happy. The dozen or so spiritualists present were all weaker than him. But most of them were very strong. Even Arhanterol didn't dare to say that he could defeat 3 at once. Not to mention everyone else. But so many of his subordinates were ignited with a snap of Bifla's fingers. This made him feel a chill rising from the soles of his feet. Who exactly are you? I told you, we're here to mediate. I won't cause trouble for that couple anymore. You can leave now. Arhanterol tried his best to remain calm. In fact, his legs were trembling. Don't you understand what I said? Bifla said calmly. Use your spell to attack me. Arhanterol's expression was solemn. Don't force me. If I use my trump card, it won't benefit any of you. If you don't attack, it won't benefit you at all. Fine. Just you wait. Arhanterol snorted. The 8-foot-tall image behind him suddenly turned into 3 heads and 6 arms. Each of the 6 arms of the Dharma idol was holding a weapon. It looked like Shiva, one of the 3 supreme gods of Hinduism. The body facing them held a black bead in its left hand. The black bead suddenly shot out a beam of black light. The black light landed on Bifla. Bifla took 3 steps back. Arhanterol and Bifla were both surprised. Arhanterol had used a lot of magic power just now. It was many times more powerful than before. But such a powerful attack only made Bifla take 3 steps back. It's indeed a special power. Bifla patted his chest. He wasn't injured either, but he was still very interested in this power. Both Qin Zhao and Bifla could feel how special this power was. It was clearly many times weaker than them. But it could shake the 2 of them. Are there any other spells? Bifla said. Let me experience it. Bifla and Qin Zhao just wanted to experience it. But in Arhanterol's ears, it sounded like naked humiliation. In the past, when he used this move, his enemies would either die or be injured. Chen Zhao and Bifla were two exceptions. Arhin Terrell took a deep breath. The 8-foot-tall image behind him turned around. Its expression was ferocious and its eyes glowed red. Seething fire. The attack of the 8-meter Dharma idol landed on Bifla's body. But Bifla didn't feel anything. Chapter 23:35. The seething flame could make the opponent's blood boil. But Bifla remained unmoved, allowing the flames to burn its body. Be it inside or outside of his body, he couldn't feel anything. More accurately, it didn't make Bifla feel uncomfortable. Bifla himself was a master of playing with fire. Bifla shook his head. Change to another spell. This one is too weak. Archon Terrell was both embarrassed and angry. How could his magic be called too weak? But as he continued to try other spells, to his horror, he realized that the magic he'd once been proud of was completely meaningless to Chen Zhao and Bifla. Arhin Terrell was treated as a toy by Chen Zhao and Bifla. Apart from incantation, all other spells were useless against Chen Zhao and Bifla. He had never encountered such an enemy before. It was so powerful that it seemed to be a different kind of creature. This kind of strength was unreasonably strong. As for the effect of moving because of him, that effect was only to make them take a step or two back. Boring, really boring. Bifla shook his head. Aren't there any more interesting spells? Arhin Terrell saw Bifla raise his hand. In an instant, he felt his hair stand on end. Bifla's finger was about to touch him. I have other spells. Arhin Terrell screamed in terror. At this moment, Bifla's finger was already pointing at him. Arhin Terrell suddenly felt the air pressure surging behind him. He twisted his neck with difficulty. He saw the scene behind. Half of the villa disappeared, leaving only the raging flames in the air. All right. Bifla withdrew his attack at the last moment. At least it did not land on Arhin Terrell. I have a powerful magic that is known to be able to destroy everything. It's called the Third Eye. Oh. The Third Eye. I've heard a lot about it. Bifla had heard of this spell before. Archon Terrell was a Shiva, a branch of Hinduism. As one of the three great gods of Hinduism, Shiva was also known as the three-eyed god of destruction. The magic third eye that Arhin Terrell mentioned was naturally Shiva's third eye. Come, let me see you open your third eye. Bifla beckoned with his finger. I can't use it. Arhin Terrell looked at Bifla with a troubled expression. Are you toying with me? Bifla's tone instantly turned cold. No. I have the cultivation method for the third eye, but I can't cultivate it. Archon Terrell quickly said, I'm willing to give this magic book to the two sirs. Archon Terrell hurriedly took out the magic book he had kept for himself. Bifla flipped through it a few times and then threw it at Arhin Terrell's face. My lord, this is real. This is authentic. I didn't lie to you. Bifla said calmly, of course I can tell if it's real or fake, but I feel that you're lying to me. The magic of Hinduism can only be practiced by believers. I'm not a believer of Hinduism. Chen Zhao picked up the magic book with interest and flipped through it. But the magic books were all written in ancient Sanskrit. Even someone with pure Indian blood wouldn't be able to understand it, let alone Chen Zhao. Bifla, why can Hinduism's magic only be practiced by believers? In Chen Zhao's impression, the magic of other religions didn't seem to be restricted by beliefs. For example, there were people in the church who practiced dark magic. There were also many outsiders who practiced holy light magic. This is a world wall that Hinduism set up. In fact, every religion can set up a world wall for themselves. It's a man-made restriction to prevent their high-end magic from flowing out. The conditions for setting up a world wall are also rather complicated. First, they have to have enough believers. Second, they have to work together with many high-end powers. Then, they have to pay some special sacrifices. Finally, they can complete the world wall. Do other religions have it? No, they did in ancient times, but most religions destroyed their world walls later on. Now, only Hinduism still has a world wall, Bifla said. Bifla said, the world wall is not suitable in the current social system. Nowadays, all the major religious systems are promoting and spreading their influence, but the world wall is the biggest obstacle. The world wall can only restrict ordinary spiritualists. If we want to break through it, it is not impossible, but it is meaningless to us. The things we have mastered have long surpassed the limits of the world wall. Argentero knew about the world barrier, and that was precisely why. When he heard Bifla say that they both had the ability to surpass the world wall's restrictions, he couldn't help but shiver. As a believer of Shiva, he was willing to take out the magic book so easily because he knew that they couldn't learn or comprehend the contents in the book. But Bifla said that they had the ability to break through the world wall. This made him panic. I'll study this book when I'm free. It's useless to you too. Trust me, Bifla said. Bifla said, your strength is enough to break through the barrier, but breaking through the barrier also requires a huge amount of resources, or even the strength of a country. Those religions can break through the barrier because they have accumulated wealth for generations, but your little bit of wealth is not worth mentioning in front of the resources needed to break through the barrier. Do we have to pay such a huge price? Chen Zhao frowned. Yes. Some resources don't even exist in this world. We have to find them in other worlds. Find them in other worlds. Chen Zhao was even more surprised. Could other people go to other worlds? Of course not directly. We have to exchange with alchemists. For example, we need a huge amount of demon gold. There isn't that much demon gold in the modern world, so we have to use alchemists' exchange spells and the huge amount of resources in the modern world to exchange for demon gold. So, this spell is completely useless. At least it's useless for you and me, Bifla said. Chen Zhao shook his head in pity. He looked at the magic book in his hand. For some reason, he just felt that this thing was good. Ha! You seem to care about this magic book. I feel that it's good. Really? You actually feel that? Looks like this magic book is indeed good. Bifla didn't disagree. Instead, he agreed with Chen Zhao. Chapter 2336. Since you've taken the spellbook, then he's my trophy, Bifla said, pointing at Argentero. Him. Spoils of war. Is there something wrong with your understanding of trophies? That spell of his is very interesting. Aren't you curious as to why that spell could shake you? Chen Zhao glanced at Argentero. He was indeed curious. After all, Argentero was so weak, but he could shake Chen Zhao with a spell. What if someone else used the same spell? What if it was Bifla instead? Chen Zhao had to admit that this spell also made Chen Zhao jealous. However, he couldn't just stuff all the good stuff into his pocket. I'll study his spell and you study the third eye spell. If we make any breakthroughs, we can share them. What do you think? Sure, Chen Zhao agreed readily. The two didn't care about Argentero's attitude at all. His personal opinion wasn't important either. Then, Chen Zhao took out his phone and called Li Pan. Okay, it's done. Li Pan didn't expect it to be over so quickly. However, thinking of Chen Zhao's strength, Li Pan felt that it was reasonable. Where's that Argentero? Is he dead or alive? He's alive now, but I'm not sure how long he can live. My friend thinks he's fun, so he brought him back, Chen Zhao said calmly. Li Pan remembered that she'd seen Bifla beside Chen Zhao before. That person didn't communicate with Chen Zhao. Even if he wasn't as scary as Chen Zhao, his status and strength wouldn't be too far off. From Chen Zhao's tone, it seemed like he didn't even have to worry about the consequences. After hanging up, Li Pan looked at Ederson, Amber, and Cliff. It's done. Done. So fast. Ederson's reaction was exactly the same as Li Pan's. It had only been an hour or so. It was done just like that. Could that guy be one of Li Pan's friends? Cliff and Amber were thinking the same thing. They didn't know who Li Pan had asked for help. However, such a short time was probably enough for a car ride. What problem could it solve? Don't worry, Li Pan said. That person has the ability. Really? He doesn't need to lie to me. I can only entrust him with a small favor. At this moment, Li Pan even somewhat regretted her refusal and unwillingness that day. Li Pan could have made Chen Zhao owe her a big favor. But in the end, she didn't get anything. Maybe that $1 million check was a fortune to her. But Li Pan wasn't stupid. She knew that $1 million check was nothing compared to a favor. Even if Chen Zhao could fulfill her most basic request, it would still be worth more than $1 million. Moreover, the third night seemed extremely dangerous. But with Chen Zhao's protection, it wasn't as dangerous as imagined. Of course, Ederson was still worried and said, Cliff, Ampa, stay here for the time being. I'll go out and ask around. Yes, thank you. It's nothing. It's not a big deal. Ederson was quite loyal. Don't worry. If there's really no way to resolve this, I can arrange for you to return to Los Angeles through other channels. After comforting Cliff and Ampa, Ederson left the motel with Li Pan. Li Pan, tell me the truth. Does that person really have the ability to resolve my friend's problem? Ederson, I know you don't have a good impression of him, but you can't deny his ability. I'm not talking about his character. I just want to know if my two friends are safe. Since he said it's resolved, then it's resolved. If you don't believe me, you can investigate it yourself. Ederson was still doubtful about Li Pan's words. So, he took out his phone and dialed a number. Walter, do you know Arhan Terrell? Instantly, a hurried voice came from the other end. You did the Wahan Manor in the suburbs. What Wahan Manor? What did I do? I don't understand. If you don't want to tell me, then forget it. I won't say anything. I really don't understand what you're saying. You're still pretending. I really don't understand what you're saying. You really don't know what happened in the Wahan Manor. I don't know. What does this have to do with Arhan Terrell? That's the headquarters of a gang controlled by Arhan Terrell. But 30 minutes ago, the place was razed to the ground. Not a single living person was seen. The only things found at the scene were some incomplete limbs and a few charred corpses. There were strong traces of magic at the scene, and Arhan Terrell disappeared without a trace. The strangest thing was the reaction of the organizers of Holy Glory. It was obvious that many ordinary gang members were attacked by spiritualists and died tragically, but the organizers of Holy Glory said that it was just an ordinary gang killing. They won't interfere in this matter. When Ederson heard Walter's words, his hair instantly stood on end. Is what you're saying true? This really has nothing to do with you. How could I have that kind of ability? That's true. But why are you asking about Arhan Terrell? I'm asking about Arhan Terrell. You've already told me everything, Ederson said solemnly. Fine, I'm sure now that you're playing with me. With that, Walter hung up. Ajersan's mind was a bit muddled. So Li Pan was telling the truth. With just one call from Li Pan, that guy had slaughtered an entire gang. Actually, Chen Zhao was also being cursed by Zhang Tianyi. You *shoal, Zhang Tianyi scolded. Even if you did it, can't you be more discreet? Do you have to make it so everyone knows? But Bifla killed everyone. I didn't kill anyone. Chen Zhao shrugged casually. So you should be cursing Bifla. Without hesitation, Chen Zhao pushed all the blame to Bifla, who had helped him carry his daughter. While playing with Jerlin, Bifla said, I'm helping Chen Zhao, so no matter how many people I kill, it'll be on him. I'm a pacifist. I told you to stop killing, but you can't stop yourself. Celestial Master Zhang, do you believe him? Chapter 2337. Zhang Tianyi clearly didn't believe him. Bifla's words couldn't be trusted either. But it didn't mean that Chen Zhao's words could be trusted. Chen Zhao was very murderous. It was normal for Bifla to kill all the gangsters. But it would be bullshit to say that Chen Zhao had stopped him. Their circle was only so big. Everyone knew each other. I've already suppressed this, but the impact is very bad. Chen Zhao and Bifla acted as if nothing had happened. Zhang Tianyi's words went in one ear and out the other. I didn't find Arhan Terrell's body in Wahan Manor, Zhang Tianyi asked. Where did he go? Chen Zhao looked at Bifla. He was obviously trying to sell Bifla out. Zhang Tianyi looked at Bifla. Where is he? What? Did someone ask you for him? Bifla asked. Not only did he ask for the person, he also asked for a magic book from me, Zhang Tianyi said. Just then, Chen Zhao and Bifla turned their heads at the same time, avoiding Zhang Tianyi's eyes. Zhang Tianyi was an old fox. Just from Chen Zhao and Bifla's actions, he knew that the item and person were in their hands. I can ignore the person who asked me for the item, but I have to share the item, Zhang Tianyi said righteously. It's not like it's anything good. Do they have to abandon their principles? The person who asked me for the item is Diko Wendis, the great guardian of Shiva. Since he's here, it means that Arhan Terrell's item isn't ordinary. But you don't have to be so shameless, right? According to my investigation, ever since Arhan Terrell betrayed the Shiva religion, he has never been hunted down by the Shiva religion. Apostasy is an unforgivable crime in any region, but the Shiva religion, which has always been known for its strict enforcement of the law, actually did not pursue Arhan Terrell. It can only be said that Arhan Terrell has something on the Shiva religion, or he has a precious treasure of the Shiva religion in his hand. The Shiva religion did not dare to pursue Arhan Terrell for fear of breaking the vases, and he also used the treasure as a protective talisman. Zhang Tianyi paused and said, Shiva religion is not a small religion. It is one of the largest religions in India. It is a big religion with at least 200 million people believing in it. The treasure that can be valued by a religion of this scale is definitely not something ordinary. Chen Zhao casually tossed the book onto the table. Take it if you want. Although Chen Zhao had thrown it out casually, he was actually quite reluctant. After all, Chen Zhao still felt that this magic book was unusual. All spiritualists believed in their own feelings. Chen Zhao was no exception. He rarely regretted having such strong feelings for something. For some supernatural items that he had obtained, it was either that he already knew the pros and cons of the item, or that it was not meaningful to him at all. Zhang Tianyi picked up the magic book. Just like Bifla, he flipped through a few pages, then shook his head and tossed it back onto the table. Not this. Dika Wendis didn't want this. That I don't know. That Arhan Terrell only took out this magic book. Zhang Tianyi frowned. Although the content of this magic book is quite advanced magic, it is restricted by the boundary wall. Deco Wendes would not come to me specifically for this kind of thing. He didn't say what magic book he wanted. No. Zhang Tianyi shook his head. Usually, top spiritualists like them only talk to each other in private. Even if they wanted something, they would beat around the bush and would not say what it was directly. After all, the things that people like them wanted were all extremely precious. It would not be an exaggeration to say that they were rare treasures. If they knew their true intentions, it was hard to guarantee that they wouldn't be greedy. Just like Zhang Tianyi right now. He looked like a sage in front of others. In reality, he was just a normal person with emotions and desires. He didn't even know what it was and he was already greedy. Seems like the key is still with Argentero. Zhang Tianyi narrowed his eyes and looked at Qin Zhao and Baifla. Where is he? Zhang Tianyi's attitude was clearly not giving Baifla a chance to refuse. He's with my subordinates. Baifla thought for a moment and finally told Qin Zhao where Argentero was hiding. You didn't get anything from him? Zhang Tianyi asked. That would have to be in time, Baifla said in annoyance. I just made arrangements for him and you came looking for me. If he knew how important Argentero was, he would be more careful. Take me to him, Zhang Tianyi said. Baifla could only accept Zhang Tianyi's request obediently. There was no need to say that he had to go against Zhang Tianyi or that Baifla could compete with Zhang Tianyi. Whether it was in terms of mentality, status, or strength, Zhang Tianyi was still in the lead. Baifla brought Zhang Tianyi to his base in the suburbs. Qin Zhao followed them too. However, before they even got close to the base, the three felt a chaotic aura in front of them. Baifla, Zhang Tianyi, and Qin Zhao's expressions all changed. The three charged out of the car they'd been in. Baifla turned into a beam of fire and soared into the sky, charging toward the base. Qin Zhao carried little Zhilin. He wasn't flying slowly, but he wasn't fast either. At the moment, the base was already occupied by slaughter and chaos. The disciples of the fire worship sect were fighting against a group of unidentified men in black. It was also obvious that the group's strength, magic, and numbers were far greater than the disciples of the fire worship sect. This resulted in heavy casualties among the fire worship sect disciples. Only a few dozen people were still trying their best to resist the attacks of the men in black. Just then, a beam of fire descended with a rumble. Amidst the flames was Baifla, who was brimming with anger. Don't be fooled by Baifla's usual aloof and arrogant attitude. He ordered his subordinates and the people around him. However, those who truly understood him knew how protective he was. He wouldn't allow others to bully his subordinates, let alone watch them being attacked and slaughtered. Hey, he's here so quickly. Among the men in black, a tall man saw the furious Baifla in the fire and called out in a low voice, "Stop him." The tall man ordered his subordinates to stop Baifla while he retreated alone. Two other men in black retreated with him. We've achieved our goal. There's no need to waste time with the sect of fire worship sect's leader here. Let's go. The furious Baifla walked toward the group of men in black step by step. All of you deserve to die. Chapter 23:38. However, in the next moment, the enraged Baifla's temperature dropped instantly. Naturally, this drop in temperature was a physical drop in temperature. The black-clad men in front of him suddenly joined forces and released a terrifying cold wave. In just an instant, Baifla was frozen into a block of ice. It was not just Baifla. Half of the estate was covered in ice and snow. The temperature in the estate dropped to 0 degrees Celsius. Sect leader. When the remaining fire worship sect disciples saw their sect leader being attacked, they immediately charged toward the black-clad men with all their might. The sect leader of the fire worship sect has a bad temper, but he's so weak. Stop him. I'll go kill the sect leader of the fire worship sect. The black-clad men discussed for a moment. Two of them stayed behind to block the fire worship sect disciples while the rest charged toward the block of ice that Bifla had turned into. As long as they broke the block of ice, they would be able to kill the sect leader of the fire worship sect. To any spiritualist, getting rid of the sect leader of a large sect was an unparalleled honor. The fire worship sect was one of the top sects in the Central Asia. It was considered a first-rate religion in the world. Therefore, these black-clad men were already imagining the honor they would receive after killing Bifla. However, at this moment, the block of ice suddenly exploded. Countless ice shards flew in all directions. Everyone at the scene was so frightened that their expressions changed drastically. However, the strange thing was none of the fire worship sect disciples were injured by the ice shards that flew in all directions. None of them were injured no matter how close they were to the ice shards. On the other hand, the black-clad men who were close to the ice shards had turned into beehives. Those who were further away were injured as well. Bifla's eyes were wide open, filled with indescribable fury. The temperature in the fire worship sect's estate was rising rapidly. It was not accurate to say it was rising. It was turning into a purgatory. The rage in Bifla's eyes seemed to want to burn all of his enemies to ashes. When the fire worship sect disciples saw their sect leader unleashing his invincible might, they knelt on the ground in excitement. They could feel Bifla's warmth. The flames did not harm them at all. Instead, they were healing their injuries. However, to the black-clad men, it was an unprecedented pain. Bifla could kill all of them at any moment. But he didn't. What he needed now was to vent his anger. The clothes of the men in black began to melt and stick to their skin. Let alone attacking Bifla, they couldn't even face Bifla right now. The three men in black who had escaped first were flying forward at high speed. One of the women pulled down her veil and looked in the direction of the fire worship sect's estate. Zhang Tianyi said with a smile, "All right, you've delayed for so long. It's about time to show your abilities, O Senna, there's another aura in front." The two masked women looked at the figure in front. It was a man carrying a child. He had an Asian face. Kill him. Carrying little Zhirlin, Chen Zhao strolled toward the sect of fire's base. Seeing the two men in black charging toward him, Chen Zhao held little Zhirlin with his left hand and reached out with his right. Just then, a woman had already charged before Chen Zhao. She was very fast. But no matter how fast she was, she couldn't be faster than Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao reached out and grabbed. But Chen Zhao realized that his hand was empty. The woman's body actually passed through Chen Zhao. She didn't turn into energy. Instead, she turned into an incorporeal body. Ha! Chen Zhao was surprised. He didn't expect the woman to be incorporeal. And he couldn't attack her at all. The moment the woman passed through Chen Zhao, she chopped at the back of his head with her hand. But her attack was also useless against Chen Zhao. Nicole. I know. The two women were shocked. They didn't expect their attacks to be unable to hurt Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao turned around and punched at the woman behind him. But Chen Zhao's punch also missed. What's going on? Chen Zhao didn't expect that even his punch couldn't hit the woman. Chapter 2339. This time, Chen Zhao gathered the power of the world and punched. But it still missed again. This woman couldn't be attacked at all. But her attacks could hit Chen Zhao again and again. This made Chen Zhao very unhappy. Nicole, attack the girl in his arms, Asuna called from afar. Nicole immediately turned to attack Jerlin in Chen Zhao's arms. Chen Zhao was instantly enraged. But he still couldn't do anything to Nicole. For Jerlin's safety, he could only retreat temporarily. At the same time, a black veil covered Nicole. But the results still disappointed Chen Zhao. After the black veil fell, Nicole still stood where she was, unharmed. She hadn't been swallowed by the dark lava. Since the enemy could change targets, couldn't he? Since he couldn't do anything to this woman called Nicole, he'd change targets. Chen Zhao suddenly charged at Asuna. Chen Zhao was carrying Jerlin, so he couldn't move at full speed. But he was confident that he was fast enough. However, Chen Zhao's fist missed again. The moment Chen Zhao's fist missed, he immediately retreated. Damn, what kind of spell did these two women use? He couldn't be hurt at all. Didn't that mean he was invincible? Nicole, we still have 30 seconds. If we can't end the battle in 30 seconds, we should retreat, Asuna said in a low voice. No need. Just 10 seconds. With that, Nicole slashed through the air. A palm print landed on Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao immediately felt a wave of power flow into his body. In an instant, his magic power seemed to have stopped flowing. At the same time, he fell from a dozen meters in the air. Chen Zhao hurriedly steadied himself and tried his best to protect Jerlin in his arms. But Nicole's attack came again. Chen Zhao panicked too. He stomped heavily on the ground. The ground was shattered by his stomp and gravel flew everywhere. But just then, Asuna, who was far away, dodged the flying gravel in a panic. Ha! As Chen Zhao dodged Nicole's attack, he also noticed Asuna's dodging. This doesn't make sense. When he attacked her just now, she clearly ignored all his attacks. She was the same as Nicole. Why was it that she was in such a sorry state just because of the scattered gravel? Chen Zhao was confused, but since she had dodged, it meant that she was not immune to damage. Chen Zhao's retreating colleague punched the ground again. Once again, countless gravel splattered everywhere. But the strange thing was that Asuna didn't dodge again. What was going on? Why didn't it work this time? But just then, Chen Zhao realized that Nicole, who had been attacking him, had actually retreated. In that instant, Chen Zhao's thoughts cleared up. At the same time, only one of them could be absolutely immune to any damage. However, the other person was not immune to the damage. There was some kind of connection between them. Nicole. Let's go. Asuna saw that Chen Zhao had tested them twice in a row, and knew that Chen Zhao had found out their secret. It was no longer a question of whether they could get rid of Chen Zhao. Instead, it was a question of whether they could leave. If they delayed too long, once Baifla and Zhang Tianyi caught up, they really wouldn't be able to escape. Although the two of them had special abilities, it didn't mean that they were confident that they could defeat Baifla and Zhang Tianyi. Nicole glared at Chen Zhao and then turned to leave. But now, Chen Zhao was annoyed. No one had ever been able to come and go as they pleased in front of him. Chen Zhao looked at Nicole and Asuna's backs. Unhurriedly, he picked up a stone and aimed it in the direction that Nicole and Olsen had escaped. Pop, the stone shot at Nicole, but it missed. The stone hit the forest in front of Nicole. In an instant, all the plants on the branch collapsed. It was as if a cannonball had pierced through the entire line. This time, it was Nicole and Asuna's turn to explode. Such terrifying destructive power. The two couldn't help but look at Chen Zhao behind them. Chen Zhao was still holding little Jerlin. With the other hand, he flicked his fingers in their direction. Guess who I'll shoot this time? The two women stared at Chen Zhao in fear. If Chen Zhao had shot one of them with a special ability, they would all be unscathed. But if Chen Zhao had shot the one without special powers, he would have been killed. The one who was shot would definitely die. Imagine what it would be like to be shot by a sniper bullet. Just the airflow from a sniper bullet's trajectory could cripple a person's limbs. If it hit any other part of the body other than the limbs, it was almost certain death. On the other hand, Chen Zhao's pebble was many times stronger than a sniper rifle's bullet. Just then, Nicole said, "Sir, do you believe that the moment you attack my sister or I will have enough time to kill the girl in your arms?" Chen Zhao flicked his finger hard. Pop, boom, amidst the terrifying sound waves, there was an unparalleled impact. However, the stone missed again. But this lethality still scared Nicole and Asuna. This time, Chen Zhao grabbed a handful of stones from the ground. Nicole and Ursina's nerves were taut. "Papa, shoot that bad woman." Jerlin suddenly pointed at Osena. "Huh? Why?" "Because I saw a shadow run onto her," Jerlin said. "Shadow? What kind of shadow?" "Ah, it ran onto that bad woman again." Jerlin pointed at Nicole. "Darling, how did you know?" "I saw it," Jerlin said. "What kind of shadow?" Chen Zhao asked. Jerlin had the protection of a guardian angel, so she could also see things that Chen Zhao couldn't. Chen Zhao already knew about this. Jerlin had also awakened the Nirvana magic. Over the past 2 days, Chen Zhao could feel Jerlin's magic growing in his body. This bit of magic was very weak for a regular spiritualist, but Jerlin was only a little over a year old. At least among children of the same age, not to mention those who had not awakened, even those who had awakened might not have as much magic power as little Jerlin. "Like a shadow on the ground," Jerlin said. Chen Zhao was stunned. He couldn't see the shadow moving between the two women like Jerlin had said. But under the two women's feet, one had a shadow and the other didn't. A smile appeared on Chen Zhao's face. Nicole and Osena immediately felt that something was wrong. Their biggest secret had been completely exposed. And the person who would truly see through their secret was a baby who hadn't weaned yet. Of course, if Jerlin knew what they were thinking, she would definitely retort loudly. "I'm weaned." Chapter 2340. But no matter what Jerlin thought or what they thought, Chen Zhao just wanted to kill them. Chen Zhao only wanted to kill them now. Nico and Asuna knew that Chen Zhao's next attack would definitely kill them. Just then, 4 metal discs suddenly appeared in the sky. The 4 discs were all over 3 meters in diameter. All of them appeared very abruptly, without any warning. Chen Zhao didn't notice them either. Chen Zhao suddenly had a bad feeling. The 4 discs suddenly shot out 4 beams of light. The 4 beams all carried powerful water, earth, fire, and wind elements. Oh no! Chen Zhao suddenly picked up Jerlin and turned his back. At the same time, he erected a black screen on the black lava. But the screen was instantly penetrated. Chen Zhao picked up Jerlin and ran. The 4 beams of light still chased after him, leaving 4 ditches in the ground they swept past. Chen Zhao tossed out the stones in his hand casually. Countless stones hit the 4 discs. The discs clanked, but they weren't damaged. However, under the impact of the pebbles, the 4 metal discs spun in the air like gyroscopes. The 4 beams of light also lost control and deviated. The surrounding ground was left with spiral-shaped ditches. At this moment, the 4 metal discs gradually disappeared in midair. When Chen Zhao looked at Nico and Asuna again, he realized that they'd disappeared too. Ran? No, they couldn't be that fast. No matter how fast they ran, could they leave Chen Zhao's sensing range instantly? The 2 women were definitely nearby. But they were extremely special. Chen Zhao couldn't lock onto them. This was probably related to their strange attack immunity spell. Since he couldn't sense them, he couldn't tell who was real and who was fake. Where did that guy come from? I don't know. I've never heard of him. Good thing we avoided his eyes and ears. Otherwise, we'd be in big trouble. How long do we have to hide here? Asuna looked up at Chen Zhao in the distance. We can hide for as long as we want. Why isn't he leaving? Nico also looked in Chen Zhao's direction. The two of them were currently using telepathy to communicate. Because they were sisters and had a very special relationship, they didn't even need to exchange glances to know each other's thoughts. Chen Zhao searched the surroundings repeatedly, but he still found nothing. Suddenly, Chen Zhao's eyes narrowed. He thought of an idea. Chen Zhao grabbed a stone slab from the ground. This stone slab weighed at least a few hundred kilograms. Then, Chen Zhao threw it heavily. In an instant, all the vegetation along the path of the stone slab was instantly flattened. Everything in front of him suddenly became clear, and all the obstacles disappeared. Even the bulging mound was flattened in an instant. The power of this stone slab was many times stronger than that of the pebble from before. The effect it could produce was naturally extraordinary. The stone slab left a 3-meter-wide path in its path. As for how far they had flown, it was basically impossible to estimate. Anyway, there was no end in sight. Nicole and Asuna immediately covered their mouths. They did not dare to make any noise. But looking at the path that was just inches away, they still broke out in a cold sweat. If Chen Zhao moved another 3 meters to the left, they would be hit by the flying path of the stone slab. But this was not Chen Zhao's last test. He was forcing them to come out. Chen Zhao picked up another big rock. It was just as big as the previous one. Similarly, he chose another direction and threw it. Another path was opened. The large rocks flew until they disintegrated and lost their destructive power. But this kind of terrifying destructive power still made Nicole and Asuna terrified. Only then did Chen Zhao use the power of one hand. He still held little Jerlin in his arms. Then he kept repeating the same action. Soon, Chen Zhao had gone one round. There were only a few sparse patches of plants in the surroundings. Nicole and Asuna broke out in cold sweat. They had already experienced Chen Zhao's terror up close. This guy was simply a human-shaped Tyrannosaurus. In just 10 minutes, Chen Zhao had turned the small forest into a wasteland. Chen Zhao glanced at the grass that was neither too big nor too small. A smile appeared on his face. The two women had either died under his sweep or were dead. Otherwise, he would be hiding in the bushes. Chen Zhao wasn't in a hurry now. He was like a cat chasing a mouse. At that moment, the 4 metal discs that had disappeared reappeared. He attacked Chen Zhao from behind. This time, Chen Zhao was prepared. Although he wasn't sure where the metal discs were hidden. However, when they appeared, he could immediately sense it. So, as soon as they appeared, Chen Zhao charged at the 4 metal discs. Bang! Chen Zhao smashed a metal disc with a punch. At the same time, Nicole and Asuna, who were hiding in the bushes, immediately ran away. Chen Zhao also noticed Nico and Asuna. Chen Zhao hesitated for a moment. Should he continue to destroy other metal discs? Or stop Nicole and Asuna? In that instant of hesitation, the owners of the 4 metal plates seemed to have sensed that something was wrong. The other 3 metal discs that were not destroyed immediately disappeared. Chen Zhao wanted to keep the remaining 3 metal discs, but he failed in the end. Suddenly, a cloud of fire spread from the horizon. From the cloud of fire, a fireball landed on the ground, blocking Nicole and Asuna. The moment the fireball landed, a ring of fire ignited on the ground. It enveloped everyone within it. Bifla's body slowly emerged from the flames. This time, Nicole and Asuna were completely in despair. "Thank you," Bifla said coolly, glancing at Qinzhao. "I didn't kill them." Qinzhao nodded with a smile. Of course, he wouldn't admit that it wasn't that he didn't want to kill them. It was just that he hadn't found the chance. "Don't be careless. These two women use a strange spell. One of them can ignore all attacks and can switch at any time." Bifla glanced at Nicole and Asuna. He lifted 2 fingers and shot out 2 death rays. 2 death rays shot toward Nicole and Asuna at the same time. Poof! The death ray pierced through Asuna's body and blood splattered. However, Nicole stood there unscathed. "Really?" Bifla was also shocked. Even though he was knowledgeable, he'd never seen such a spell. Bifla didn't kill them. He'd already vented enough. He was still angry, but he could control it now. Chapter 23:41. Just then, a person fell from the sky. Everyone looked over and realized that it was Brad. After Brad, Zhang Tianyi landed slowly. Brad wasn't fatally injured, but his face was swollen. Zhang Tianyi, on the other hand, was gasping for breath. He put his hands on his waist and looked like he was about to cry. "You two are really too much. You don't understand this old man at all. This guy is really hard to deal with. This old man spent a great deal of effort and used all of my means to take him down. I almost lost my life." On the ground, Brad wanted to cry too. Because Zhang Tianyi had indeed attacked more than 100 times. But each time, he was slapped. Simply put, Zhang Tianyi had slapped him more than 100 times. Apart from that, he didn't use any other spells. Every time Brad used a spell, it didn't matter what it was used for or whether it was effective on Zhang Tianyi. Either way, he would get a slap. Then Zhang Tianyi would curse him. Brad believed that Zhang Tianyi was tired from beating people and thirsty from cursing. However, did he have the ability to subdue him after expending a great deal of effort? The injuries on his face were all caused by Zhang Tianyi's hands-on treatment. After this battle, he finally understood how terrifying Zhang Tianyi was and the difference between him and Zhang Tianyi. Zhang Tianyi's strength was the kind that made no sense at all. If he wanted to hit someone, he didn't care what techniques you had. He didn't care what extraordinary power you had as long as you had a pair of palms. He could beat you so hard that even your mom couldn't recognize you. Zhang Tianyi was just that unreasonable. He wouldn't even use spells against you. No matter how many tricks you had, he would just slap you. So when Brad heard Zhang Tianyi's crying, he didn't feel any pain. He only felt wronged and cursed inwardly. As for Qinzhao and Bifla, they just looked at Zhang Tianyi expressionlessly. Their only reply was a chuckle. Celestial Master Grandpa is so shameless. You beat him up and he's still complaining. Shameless, shameless. Little Jerlin made a face at Zhang Tianyi. Hee hee. Baby, come, let Grandpa hug you. Cheerfully, Zhang Tianyi ran to Qinzhao and reached out to take Jerlin. No, no, Grandpa Heavenly Master stinks. Look at your father. He's not much cleaner than me. I don't want you to hug me. Humph. Little Jerlin nestled in Qinzhao's arms, still making faces with her cute little face. Blade's eyes flashed. He saw Nicole and Ursana not far away. His heart sank to the bottom. Did the two of them not escape? That's not good at all. He had originally thought that he could hold Zhang Tianyi back. Ursina and Nicole would be able to escape. Moreover, He also believed that his plan had succeeded. Who would have thought that Asuna and Nicole would still be stopped here? Biflo was held back by the cannon fodder. And Zhang Tianyi was being held up by him. Was it the man carrying the little girl who stopped Asuna and Nicole? Who was that guy? How could he stop Asuna and Nicole? Others might not know, but how could Brad not? Asuna and Nicole were a handful. Now, Zhang Tianyi and Bifla had also arrived. It was impossible for them to leave now. Ha! Suddenly, Zhang Tianyi snorted and looked up at the sky. The sunlight was suddenly blocked by something. Chen Zhao also looked up. He realized that metal discs had appeared in the sky one after another. These were the same discs that had attacked Chen Zhao before. It was just that the number this time was many times more than the previous ones. They were densely packed and neatly arranged. There could be hundreds of them. I was attacked by a few of them just now. What are they? Whose? Chen Zhao asked. Zhang Tianyi and Biflo were confused too. They seemed to be guessing who did it. These metal discs all emitted a powerful elemental aura. Moreover, to be able to control so many metal discs at the same time, the magic level must be extraordinary. So many metal discs hovered in the air, but they did not attack them immediately. But this confrontation was actually a threat to the three. Unfortunately, Chen Zhao, Zhang Tianyi, and Bifla, whom the mastermind had threatened, were all people who would not be threatened. The three's pride, or rather, their arrogance was so similar. Cowardly scoundrel. Zhang Tianyi snorted and stepped forward. Zhang Tianyi was serious this time. Zhang Tianyi formed a seal with his hands and shouted, Star Lord Huang, Fang Shuzhang, Bailey Piaoxing, Punishing Heaven Sword, King of Zhou, break. All of a sudden, the hundreds of metal discs were pieced together. The chaotic elemental aura suddenly merged into one. It turned into an indestructible metal barrier. Zhang Tianyi pointed at the metal barrier. The metal barrier looked as if it had been stripped of its scales. The metal plates broke off the metal barrier piece by piece and fell to the ground. Chen Zhao did not know Taoism, but he knew that Zhang Tianyi had just chanted a Taoist mantra. Of course, this was mainly because Fei Lai had been fascinated by feng shui and had searched everywhere for feng shui books. Chen Zhao had used his identity to obtain some. At the same time, he had also obtained some Taoist books. The mantra that Zhang Tianyi had just chanted really appeared in the Ziwei Do Shu Wang log. Legend had it that feng shui originated from the era of King Wu of Zhou. It was said that Jiang Zia had created it when King Wu conquered Zhou. The Ziwei star was also known as the Master of Dipper. Therefore, when it came to feng shui, most people would mention the Ziwei Star Lord. However, Chen Zhao was more concerned about the fact that Zhang Tianyi had not used an ordinary spell. Zhang Tianyi didn't use any huge amount of transcendence energy. He just stepped on Mount Sumeru and pinched the stars. It looked like the tricks of a charlatan, but the seemingly indestructible metal barrier was forcibly peeled off by him. Of course, neither friend nor foe would think that the old man was a swindler. Fuck, show yourself. The Big Dipper, the Six Directions, the Ziwei Star, the Nangong Palace, the Fire. Zhang Tianyi once again made a hand seal. This time, a small flame burst out from Zhang Tianyi's fingertip. The seemingly insignificant flame spun a few times in the air and turned into a flaming dragon. The flaming dragon crashed headfirst into the metal barrier. With a loud boom, all the metal discs shattered and flew everywhere. At the same time, it kicked up a huge sandstorm. Amidst the dust and sand, a huge figure appeared. If not for the sandstorm, he probably would not have shown himself so easily. Come out. You've already been exposed. There's no point in hiding anymore. Chapter 2342. The figure hiding behind the sand finally stopped hiding. It wasn't exactly generous, but at least it was facing it calmly. It was a giant dragon with a huge body and a terrifying draconic might. It also radiated a terrifying magic power. However, this dragon was very special because its entire body was covered in metal armor. Even its wings were covered in thick metal. This dragon's size had reached the level of a dragon's father. Its magic aura was also extremely strong. But what the three cared about was the rippling elements on its body. Usually, dragons were single elemental. Occasionally, there would be dual elemental dragons. However, this metal dragon was quadruple elemental. Chen Zhao was surprised. Was this metal dragon the culprit behind the attack on the fire worship sect's base? He had to admit that this metal dragon was very powerful. But did he really think he could fight Zhang Tianyi head-on? What a joke. Even Chen Zhao wasn't confident. He thought that he was stronger than Zhang Tianyi in terms of combat power. But at their level, combat power wasn't necessarily the deciding factor in a battle. Who knew what kind of spell Zhang Tianyi would throw at him? It was even possible that he could be suppressed directly. As soon as the metal dragon appeared in front of him, it either had a trick up its sleeve or was stupid. However, Chen Zhao really couldn't imagine how the metal dragon could escape. Putting Zhang Tianyi aside, Chen Zhao and Biflo wouldn't just stand by and watch. Zhang Tianyi also frowned. The metal dragon's aura seemed familiar, but he couldn't remember. I've seen you before, Zhang Tianyi said, pointing at the metal dragon. Pfft. It's my honor to be remembered by the Celestial Master. Even the proud WIRMS had to put away their pride and arrogance in front of Zhang Tianyi. Most of the giant dragons viewed other races, including humans, as mere ants. However, they were facing Zhang Tianyi, an ant who could crush most dragons to death. Don't talk. Let me think. I can definitely remember, where did I meet you? Zhang Tianyi lowered his head in deep thought, his expression serious. The metal dragon wasn't in a hurry either. It let Zhang Tianyi's mind wander. Suddenly, Zhang Tianyi clapped his hands. I remember now. The genius of the giant dragon clan, Udal Loken. The metal dragon grinned. You finally remembered, Celestial Master. Fuck, how did you get yourself into this state? Back then, you were still a little handsome dragon. Because of you, my great Celestial Master. The metal dragon let out a horrifying laugh. Bifla and Chen Zhao looked at Zhang Tianyi at the same time. Did they misunderstand? Or did this big guy use the wrong words? Don't make it sound so ambiguous. We've only met once, and it was 120 years ago. That's right. 120 years ago, during my dragon race's ancestral dragon's birthday, you followed your master to my race's dragon island. Then, you defeated me and used my name as a genius to achieve your own accomplishments. Wait, let me sort out my thoughts. I remember that you were the one who challenged me. Why does it seem like I'm using you? Moreover, I remember that we got along quite well in the following days. Isn't it too late to sort out who was in the right and who was in the wrong? Udal Loken sneered at Zhang Tianyi. In order to defeat you and wash away the humiliation you've inflicted on me, I've been working hard. But no matter how hard I try, I can only live in your shadow. Even now, I possess the power of the Dragon Father, but you're still like a mountain that's always pressing down on me. Then should I say sorry? Ha! I'm joking with you. Udal Loken suddenly laughed. I can't even count the number of times I've been defeated by others in my life. How can I remember it just because you defeated me? But I'm serious about pursuing power. Udal Loken's tone suddenly changed. It's very uncomfortable to face you here, but since I've been exposed, I can only fight. You're not just facing Celestial Master Zhang. The flames on Bifla's body burned again. Oh. I remember now. And you. An ant. Bifla soared into the sky and punched at Udal Loken. At the same time, a terrifyingly high temperature rose. The metal on Udal Loken's body seemed to be melting. Wow. It's hot. Jerlin covered her head with her hands. Even from a few hundred meters away, she could still feel the heat. Zhang Tianyi casually cast a small spell on Jerlin. Wow. So comfortable. Grandpa Celestial Master, give me another one. Chen Zhao's attention was on Bifla. Udal Loken also seemed to be unable to endure the terrifying flames. He looked up and spat out a mouthful of dragon breath at Bifla. However, his breath could only travel less than 10 meters before it was suppressed by Bifla's flames. Dragons of all attributes could spit dragon breath, which would also be mixed with their own attributes. It could be said that all dragons were experts at playing with fire. But today, Udal Loken met an enemy who knew how to play with fire even better than him. Bifla. Udal Loken also did not expect his dragon breath to be suppressed by Bifla. Such pure flames. Udal Loken murmured. Udal Loken muttered to himself. Bifla's flames erupted with even more terrifying power. In an instant, Udal Loken was swallowed by the sea of fire. Ah. Zhang Tianyi. I like you, those were Udal Loken's last words. Bifla stopped his attack and turned to look at Chen Zhao in surprise. Zhang Tianyi. That's a male dragon, fuck. That guy's a fake. He's just messing with us. Zhang Tianyi stomped his feet in anger. Bifla calmed himself down and returned his attention to the battlefield. Engulfed by the sea of fire, most of Udal Loken's body gradually melted. However, the only thing that melted was his metal body. He did not find Udal Loken's flesh and blood. Was it really a fake? Udal Loken only had a metal head left. I've been discovered. What a pity. But Zhang Tianyi, I meant what I said just now. I'm a gay dragon. Zhang Tianyi's face kept twitching, but he could not do anything to this guy. It was useless even if he destroyed the metal head. It was just a remote-controlled shell. Chapter 2343. Not many people in the world dared to tease Zhang Tianyi. Clearly, Udal Loken didn't plan on fighting Zhang Tianyi head-on. Also, because he didn't come with his real body, he didn't have any worries. He could tease Zhang Tianyi without restraint. Even if Zhang Tianyi stomped his feet in anger, there was nothing he could do. Chen Zhao and Bifla watched from the side. Even though Bifla hated Udal Loken to the core, Bifla didn't care. But there was nothing he could do. Chen Zhao was even more curious about how this dragon called Udal Loken could control such a metal body. In terms of strength alone, the controlled steel WIRM was not weaker than ordinary WIRMs. In fact, it was much stronger. It was just a puppet that was being controlled, yet it already possessed such strength. Then how strong was its real body? Of course, Chen Zhao was an outsider in this conflict. At least, before Bifla asked him for help personally, he was an outsider. Even though Chen Zhao had participated in this battle. Udal Loken glanced at his subordinates. I'll leave them in Celestial Master Zhang's hands for now. Please take good care of them. I'll take them back soon. Ha. You want to take them back? That depends on whether you have the ability. Bifla grinned hideously at Udal Loken's almost melted metal head. Trust me, Udal Loken said confidently. Before long, you'll return them to me personally. Suddenly, a beam of red light pierced through Brad's head. Brad was still in shock, but the next moment, his soul had already left his body. He didn't even know what had happened until he died. And the person who killed him was Bifla. Bifla pointed at Nico and Asuna. At the same time, he looked at the remaining metal heads. Tell me, why do you think we'll return them to you? In Chen Zhao's impression, Bifla had always been very calm. Until today, all of Bifla's mania and anger had been revealed. Zhang Tianyi didn't expect Bifla to be so direct. Shouldn't they keep them alive? That way, he could get the necessary information from them. But Bifla killed one just like that. Judging from his actions, he seemed to want to kill the remaining two. Zhang Tianyi felt that it was inappropriate. But today, Bifla was the person involved. He was most qualified to decide the life and death of these two women. Therefore, Zhang Tianyi did not speak. Udal Loken said nothing more. He didn't expect Bifla to respond so forcefully. He was afraid that if he said another word, Bifla would really kill Nicole and Asuna. Blade was his right-hand man. But in the end, they were not as important as Nicole and Asuna. Although Brad's death was regrettable, it was still barely acceptable. But once Nicole and Asuna died, then his plan would be completely ruined. Therefore, he did not want to provoke Bifla any further. Looks like they're really important to you. A cruel smile appeared on Bifla's face. It should be because of their special magic constitutions. It seems that I really need to make good use of them. The metal skull finally melted completely, and he remained silent for the last few minutes. Chen Zhao and Zhang Tianyi looked at Bifla. These two captives belonged to Bifla. Their lives were also decided by Bifla. Bifla, are you going to kill them? Zhang Tianyi asked. He was also quite interested in Nicole and Asuna's magic. After all, absolute immunity to other people's attacks was almost unimaginable. Even Chen Zhao, who had the best physique and defense among the three, did not dare to say that he could be immune to all attacks. At least, if there was a strong enough magic attack, it could break through Chen Zhao's defense. But Nicole and Asuna were different. They could make any one of them absolutely immune. According to that dragon's train of thought, he definitely wants us to pry open their mouths. If I continue with this train of thought, I might fall into his trap. So, you're going to kill them now? Bifla lowered his head and thought for a while. No, I'm more curious about what they can tell me. I also want to know what that dragon said. In the end, we'll personally return them to him. Zhang Tianyi also wanted to know why they'd return the two of them. Did he have something on them? Was he confident that this could threaten Chen Zhao and Bifla? Or did he have the ability? Or was he using normal people to threaten them? It didn't seem feasible. Since guessing won't work, we'll pry open their mouths first. We're just guessing here. What can we get? Chen Zhao rolled his eyes. This kind of brain-wasting work was really not suitable for him. No need, Asuna said honestly. Whatever you want to know, we can tell you as long as we know it. How can we do that? Chen Zhao said. Intelligence without torture might not be true. Both Asuna and Nicole stared at Chen Zhao angrily. Chen Zhao's words were too vicious. He was going to force them to their deaths. It's just a joke. Don't be so serious. We're here to kidnap Arhan Terrell under Master Udal's orders. Where's Arhan Terrell? Where did you hide him? I don't know. We're only in charge of delaying and destroying. Someone else will naturally complete the kidnapping. Everyone was obviously not satisfied with this answer. Then tell me the dragon's real goal. To become a god. Fuck, why is it this super stupid goal again? Chen Zhao cursed. Papa, you can't curse. Zhang Tianyi and Bifla glanced at Qin Zhao. What kind of father are you? You're cursing in front of kids. Other than that, don't you have any other deeper motives? Like maintaining world peace? Nicole and Asuna both looked at Zhang Tianyi as if he was an idiot. Then what are the specific steps? The three could actually easily accept Asuna and Nicole's goal. Because there really had been gods in this world before. Thus, it was theoretically possible to become a god. Why do you think we should know? Chapter 23:44. After this, Bifla stayed behind to deal with the aftermath. After all, the sect of fire had been attacked and many disciples had died. He didn't have time to care about anything else. The most important thing was to take care of the remaining disciples. Qin Zhao and Zhilin would only cause trouble if they stayed. Then Bifla chased them away. This wasn't a joke. The father and daughter stayed in the sect of fire for 10 minutes. Bifla went berserk. Qin Zhao wanted to help take care of the injured. After all, being a doctor was his main job. He was confident that he could take care of the injured. In the end, he imbued vitality into one of the injured. The injury healed quickly, but it was too effective. The person Qin Zhao had infused with vitality had been injured in the back. In the end, because of the excessive vitality, he grew another arm on his back. Bifla almost fainted from anger. On one hand, it was because Qin Zhao treated randomly. On the other hand, Qin Zhao's treatment method was too extravagant. It was even wasteful. Have you ever seen someone donate to an orphanage only to end up in a bank? Qin Zhao's treatment method was similar. Zhilin was much worse than Qin Zhao. She ran around the half-destroyed sect of fire's base. When she saw the injured lying on the ground, she ran up to them and poked their wounds. You even used a very innocent tone to ask me if it hurts. Was this something a human would do? The injured knew that Zhilin was the daughter of their sect leader's friend. Even if she had tears in her eyes, she shouldn't be angry. Qin Zhao felt helpless too. He really wanted to help. In the end, the father and daughter were chased out of the sect of fire's base. When they returned to the city, it was already midnight. Compared to a sleepless city like Los Angeles, Istanbul was much quieter. Of course, Istanbul's historical value was countless times that of Los Angeles. Under the night sky in Istanbul, there were always countless spiritualists moving about. The strongest spiritualists in the world were gathered here. But no one came to cause trouble for the father and daughter. They returned to the hotel successfully. Qin Zhao comforted Zhilin and put her to sleep. On the other hand, Qin Zhao stood on the balcony of the suite and absorbed the yin-yang qi. Suddenly, he saw a few spiritualists chasing each other on the road outside the hotel. Upon closer inspection, he recognized two of them. They seemed to be Cliff and Nampa. They were the ones being chased. The 6 spiritualists chased after them. Upon closer inspection, the spiritualists chasing after them seemed to be Indians. The 6 spiritualists were clearly stronger than Cliff and Nampa. However, they seemed to have some misgivings, so they did not use any offensive methods. Every time he attacked, he would use binding and control spells. Cliff and Nampa, on the other hand, were barely able to resist. But looking at the situation, it wouldn't be long before he was defeated and captured. Qin Zhao considered whether he should attack or how he should do it. At this moment, an extremely loud gunshot resounded through the night sky. A spiritualist fell to the ground. Qin Zhao's vision was excellent, so he could see clearly. The spiritualist's neck was pierced through, and the powerful penetrating force, coupled with the airflow, almost completely broke the spiritualist's neck. Raising an eyebrow, Qin Zhao searched the surroundings. Looking in the direction of the bullet's trajectory, he saw a sniper on the rooftop of a tall building. It was at least 2,000 meters away from the scene. All the spiritualists present were terrified. They didn't have the ability to stop bullets. Now, they had to face a sniper hiding in the dark. Cliff and Ampa also lay on the ground, not daring to get up. The sniper's first shot was to attack the people chasing after them. But who knew what his real goal was? Just then, there was a second gunshot. This time, it didn't hit anyone. However, it left an extremely exaggerated bullet hole in front of the Indians. The area around the bullet hole seemed to have been corroded by something, leaving a bowl-sized hole. "They're spiritualists. Everyone, raise your shields," one of the Indians shouted. At the same time, he rolled on the ground and hid behind a roadblock. Right now, the sniper in the dark was observing the scene through the scope of his sniper rifle. TSK. Too slow. "I only noticed now," the sniper said proudly. "Okay, stop talking. Finish it quickly. Don't drag it out." His partner's voice came from the sniper's earpiece. "Got it." The sniper switched to regular bullets this time. He'd used magic bullets for the second shot just to make the spiritualists think that he would continue using magic bullets. When they used their magic shields, it was time for the sniper to harvest. Magic bullets were very different from regular sniper rifle bullets. Magic bullets had many special additional effects. Regular bullets, on the other hand, were much simpler, pure physical damage. If the necromancers were hiding behind some obstacles, using magic bullets would be the most effective. The various attributes of magic bullets could help the sniper destroy those obstacles. But the magic properties of magic bullets weren't strong. So they could easily be blocked by magic shields. Everything had its pros and cons, and that was the disadvantage of magic bullets. But this time, the sniper switched to regular bullets. Of course, it was normal compared to magic bullets. But compared to real ordinary small caliber bullets, it wasn't the case. Because he wasn't using small caliber sniper bullets. It was super large armor-piercing bullets. And he wasn't using an ordinary mid-range sniper rifle either. It was a long-range sniper rifle. In the military, super large caliber bullets were mostly described as cannons. With the effect of a sniper rifle and a large caliber armor-piercing bullet, it could basically penetrate about 60 centimeters of concrete within its range. Bang! A sniper rifle shot directly blew up the head of a spiritualist hiding behind a concrete barricade. It wasn't accurate to say that it was a headshot. It was more like a headshot. The spiritualist thought that he was protected by a magic shield and a barricade, so he should be safe. But the power of the sniper rifle taught him a lesson. Beautiful. The sniper didn't care that he was in a sniper position. He shouted loudly and excitedly and couldn't help but kiss his rifle again. "Don't waste time there. Finish the battle quickly." "Got it. Don't rush me." The sniper then aimed at the third spiritualist. He was about to pull the trigger when the sniper suddenly had a very uncomfortable feeling. It was the feeling of being watched by others. The sniper immediately rolled and hid in the shadows. At the same time, he tried to determine where the feeling of being watched was coming from. Through the scope, the sniper finally found where the gaze was coming from. It was in the hotel next to the position where he was sniping. A man stood on the balcony of one of the suites. The man had been watching everything on the battlefield, and at the same time, he was also watching the sniper. The Divine Emperor of the Nine Heavens. Chapter 23:45. A third party. The sniper's heart jumped. Or was the man not a third party, but the superior of the Indian spiritualists? He could observe him from so far away, and it was night time too. Was he a perceptual spiritualist? Due to the demands of the times, there were many special and complicated branches of perceptual spiritualists in the world. Some perceptual spiritualists were very dangerous. Ah, Luo, I found a perceptual spiritualist. He's watching me. He saw all my previous actions. Can you confirm his identity? No. Tell me his location. I'll take care of him. You continue your mission. That guy doesn't look easy to deal with, the sniper said. You better be careful. Maybe he's just bait. Ah, Luo moved quickly. He quickly brought his men to the hotel. Their ambush location wasn't far from the hotel. Their original plan was to have the sniper attack while they were in charge of support. If the Indian spiritualists escaped, they would take care of them. But now that the plan had changed, they could only give up on the ambush and go around the hotel. Soon, Chen Zhao heard knocks on the door. Chen Zhao knew who they were, or rather, what they wanted. But Zherlin was sleeping soundly in the bedroom. Chen Zhao didn't want to cause too much of a commotion. Chen Zhao opened the door and saw 8 people outside. Everyone was wearing a field uniform and was armed to the teeth. When Chen Zhao opened the door, all 8 of them had their guns pointed at him. But in the next moment, a black curtain silently rose behind them, covering the head of the person standing at the back. The person couldn't even make a sound before he fell to the ground. Shoo, my daughter's sleeping. Chen Zhao smiled faintly and gestured for them to keep quiet. But the people in front of him didn't care. The leader raised his gun and smashed it at Chen Zhao's head. It was a public place, but the upper floors of the hotel were all spiritualists. The owner of the hotel also had countless connections with spiritualists, so there weren't many random people here. Chen Zhao didn't need to be secretive here. Even if he attacked, it would be fine as long as he didn't cause too much damage. The moment the leader was about to pull the trigger, Chen Zhao suddenly grabbed the barrel and twisted it upward. The barrel broke. At the same time, he closed the door behind him. To Chen Zhao, these spiritualists couldn't even be considered decent. In a few seconds, everyone was lying on the ground. These people were also dumbfounded. After all, they had fought many big and small battles. They were confident that they could fight against any spiritualist. In the end, he encountered such an enemy today. He wasn't some legendary figure in the spirit world, but his methods had made them suffer greatly. They didn't even have a chance to fight back. Chen Zhao pinned them to the ground. When he came back to his senses, Quan Du was already lying on the ground. Of course, Chen Zhao wouldn't bring them back to his room. Instead, he opened the door next door, Bifrost Suite. Chen Zhao didn't kill them. Their injuries were neither light nor heavy, but at least they weren't dead. Tell me, who are you? Why did you attack me? These people clenched their teeth and persevered. No one made a sound. Chen Zhao picked up a gun and aimed it at one of the female team members' head. Even so, you still won't say. Stop. The leader finally yelled. If you dare to kill our people, you'll bring big trouble to yourself. No matter who you are, we won't let you go. Really? You're threatening me now, right? Chen Zhao didn't like being threatened. Stop. Suddenly, a voice came from behind. Chen Zhao turned around and saw a few familiar people standing at the door. Warren Calm, the Holy Knight. And his followers, Harkinson, Wallace, and Yuna. They were all old acquaintances who'd fought alongside him. Chen Zhao put the gun away and tilted his head to look at the acquaintances. Hi, Chen, Yuna greeted Chen Zhao. Long time no see. Don't tell me they're your subordinates. No, but they're our colleagues, members of the Holy Knights Eurasian branch. Warren Calm, kill this guy. He attacked us, the Holy Knight on the ground roared. Chen Zhao glanced at the Knights Templars on the ground and pursed his lips. So narrow-minded. Warrencom, how about I kill them all and you pretend this never happened? What do you think? The Holy Knights on the ground were all shocked. Warrencom and the other three looked helpless. All right, stop joking around. Let them all go. They attacked me just now. You're just going to let it go? Chen Zhao said, annoyed. It's a misunderstanding. You didn't actually get hurt or lost, right? But my heart is hurt. I'm depressed now. I was attacked by the Holy Knights I worked with before. If you don't give me a satisfactory answer, I won't be able to let it go. They just misanalyzed and thought you were an enemy, Warrencom explained helplessly. We're working closely with the Eurasian branch right now. When we heard the sniper's words, we also thought it was an unknown enemy. We didn't know it was you until we checked in at the hotel. To prevent both sides from getting hurt, we came to stop the conflict from escalating. Chen Zhao thought about it. Warrencom's explanation was acceptable. Of course, if it wasn't for Warrencom and the others, even if it was a misunderstanding, Chen Zhao would still kill them all. Chen Zhao helped the Templar up from the ground and patted the dust off him. Okay, it's a misunderstanding. You can go now. You'd better remember this. Before the leading Holy Knight could say anything, Chen Zhao clamped his mouth shut. Don't say anything else, or I'll kill you now. Even if you want to take revenge, you should do it secretly, right? The Holy Knights from the Eurasian branch all looked unhappy. After all, they'd been humiliated in front of their faces and couldn't fight back. Even their words had been blocked. It felt like a fishbone was stuck in their throats. The Holy Knights from the Eurasian branch left, but Warrencom and the others didn't. They clearly wanted to catch up with Chen Zhao. Of course, Chen Zhao also had some questions to ask them. Should I ask, or will you tell me yourself? Chen Zhao looked at the four before him. They'd worked together twice. They might not be like brothers, but they'd been through life and death, especially when they'd worked together for the first time against the Root of the Fallen. That battle had been full of danger. Back then, Chen Zhao wasn't very strong. Everyone had almost lost their lives in that battle. So they still had a deep trust. Otherwise, Chen Zhao wouldn't have let them go so easily. Chapter 2346. Warrencom and the others hesitated for a moment. After exchanging glances, Warrencom finally said, "This situation is a bit troublesome and highly confidential." Highly confidential. I love hearing confidential information. Come, share it with me. Chen Zhao didn't know how to accommodate Warrencom at all. Not long ago, the great sage of the Knights Templar prophesied that a treasure is about to appear and that it will bring disaster. This treasure comes from India's Shiva religion and gave us some clues. What treasure? Chen Zhao was even more interested. Who didn't like treasures? If possible, Chen Zhao would be happy to put it in his pocket. I don't know. Maybe only the great sage knows what treasure it is. Our current mission is to find the key clues and people that the great sage mentioned. These clues and people will lead us to the treasure. In other words, you Templars came to Istanbul this time to play a treasure hunt. Chen Zhao wanted a clear time and place. It was best if he could directly fight for the treasure. He didn't want a treasure hunt where all sorts of information were put together and he had to guess and guess. So, when Chen Zhao found out what Warrencom meant, his interest disappeared. Moreover, he still had doubts about the treasure that Warrencom mentioned. Maybe it was a treasure to them, but it was useless to him. After all, Chen Zhao wasn't the same as before. His power had increased, so had his horizons. The location of the treasure shouldn't be in Istanbul. We're here mainly because there are a few key people and key clues here. Are Clive and Ampa the key people you mentioned? You know that couple? Kind of, Chen Zhao said. What do you plan to do with them? We don't plan to hurt them. They're in danger now. India's Shiva people are chasing after them. We want to protect them. Until you find the treasure, right? You can say that if the treasure falls into the hands of evil people, there will be extremely serious consequences. So, we have to find it first and keep it safe. Chen Zhao had to admit that Warrencomb's words were very Western. If others obtained it, they would all be evil and have bad intentions. Only if they obtained it could they maintain world peace and ensure safety. Of course, it was not wrong to think that way. It was safest to hold the weapon in one's own hands. Even if Chen Zhao was involved, he would have the same thought. When a person or a force stood at a certain height, they would no longer treat the person above them as a target. Instead, he treated the people below as his targets. It didn't matter if this person was hostile or not, as long as he posed a threat, he was an enemy. This was the Western way of thinking. Chen Zhao, on the other hand, had a pure Eastern mindset. This thing belonged to him. Of course, from the perspective of profit, he wasn't sure what it was. Everyone only knew a little information. What Warrencombe knew was that the treasure came from Shiva. That was all Zhang Tianyi knew too. Right now, there should be 3 people who might know what the treasure was. The great guardian of Shiva, Dika Wendis, the dragon Udal Loken, who controlled everything from behind. And the great sage of the Holy Knights. However, the 3 of them were hiding behind the scenes like thieves. If Chen Zhao was really interested, he might go find one of them and find out more. However, Chen Zhao wasn't interested in it either, so he only treated it as gossip until now. Chen, help us. Yeah, Chen, we're looking forward to fighting with you again. Yuna also looked at Chen Zhao seriously. The other 2 old friends had the same look. Chapter 2347. The information that Warrencombe had given Chen Zhao was basically information that Chen Zhao already knew. Or rather, it was information that Chen Zhao wasn't interested in. Warrencombe and the others still treated Chen Zhao as the Chen Zhao of the past. Although they didn't have any grudges or conflicts. However, there was still a gap between the 2 sides. Warrencombe and the others hoped that Chen Zhao could work with them again. Unfortunately, Chen Zhao rejected them this time. Even if Chen Zhao wanted to work together, he would work with Zhang Tianyi and Baifla. He wouldn't work with them. If they were to cooperate with the Holy Knights, they might be able to get their hands on the treasure one day. How would they split the benefits then? There was only one treasure, and the Holy Knights had to keep it in their hands. If they gave Chen Zhao a few cents as compensation, who could Chen Zhao complain to? But it was different if he worked with Zhang Tianyi and Baifla. Even if they wanted to keep the treasure, they could at least give him a decent compensation. Of course, it was obvious that Warrencombe and the others really wanted to fight alongside Chen Zhao again. But after Chen Zhao's direct rejection, he gave up on the idea. Chen Zhao didn't continue on this topic. After exchanging contact numbers with them, they left directly. When Chen Zhao returned to the balcony of his suite, Cliff and Ampa were nowhere to be seen. They'd probably been taken away by the Holy Knights. Chen Zhao continued to absorb the essence of the sun and moon on the balcony. But after he was full, he took out the magic book he'd gotten from Argentero. Because of the world wall, Chen Zhao could memorize the contents of the book, but the content couldn't connect him with the elements. The contents of the magic book were like lines of cold, lifeless mathematical formulas. Chen Zhao remembered that Bifla had once said that there were 2 conditions to break the world wall. The first condition was that he had enough power and could withstand the backlash from breaking the world wall by force. Chen Zhao already had this condition. But the second condition was much more complicated. It was a ritual. A ritual to break the world. Not only was it complicated, but it also required a large amount of resources. The amount of resources depended on the strength of the world wall. For a super religion like India's Shiva, the strength of the world wall set by the sages would definitely be unimaginable. So, the resources needed would be astronomical. Actually, Chen Zhao didn't doubt whether he could break the world wall. His strength was sufficient, and in terms of resources, he had a large amount of wealth in hell. Even if they lacked some resources, they could exchange with Beelzebub's fee. As for how the ceremony should be carried out, he had people to consult. He now had a demon alchemist loyal to him, felt Nitak. If he still couldn't do it, she could look for the handsome boy or Beria for advice. The 2 of them would definitely be able to think of a solution. The reason why Chen Zhao was interested was because he felt something for this magic book. This mysterious feeling made Chen Zhao feel that he could learn something from it. Chen Zhao didn't know what he would get. But feelings were hard to say. It was just a moment of inspiration. He couldn't put his finger on it, but he was very sure. But breaking a world was no small matter. It consumed a lot of resources. Even Arhantaril, a follower of Shiva, had said that he couldn't cultivate. Therefore, he wasn't sure if he could gain anything. This was also why Chen Zhao hesitated. What if he wasted a lot of manpower and resources and ended up with nothing? Chen Zhao definitely wouldn't be happy. Just then, Chen Zhao's phone rang. It was West. West, can't you see what time it is? President, the last trial will start the day after tomorrow. Oh, what's the last trial? All the remaining team members will be randomly split up. They'll draw lots at the same time and then have a one-on-one battle, West said. Oh, so why are you calling me? Now, only Hallis, Ang Elite, and Gaia have qualified for the final round of trials, but the 3 of them have no confidence in the final round of the arena. What can I do? Motivate them. No, be our opponent. Are you sure? Chen Zhao didn't understand West's suggestion. He felt that the most important thing now was to motivate them. But if he sparred with them, it wouldn't be motivating them anymore. It would be beating them up. Others might not know, but West knew how difficult it was. Chen Zhao felt that sparring with them was meaningless. It might even have the opposite effect. If he wanted to find an opponent to spar with, he should find someone who was on par with him or someone who wasn't that much stronger. Not someone like Chen Zhao as an opponent. If Chen Zhao sparred with them, the only thing he could do was stand where he was and do nothing. Once Chen Zhao made a move, they would lose. They should know Chen Zhao's strength, not to mention going easy on him. Chen Zhao didn't know how to act. If he pretended to use a few moves, they would probably see through it immediately. It would only make them less confident. The 3 of them requested this. Why? They said that if they can get used to fighting with you, the other participants won't be able to pressure them. That's a new theory, but are you sure they can do it? Let's try. With their current emotions and fighting spirit, they might be eliminated in the first round. Okay, I'll go now. After all, Chen Zhao had brought the team here. He didn't have high hopes for them to participate in the Holy Glory battle this time. They didn't even pay much attention to them, but Chen Zhao still hoped that his team could get good results. Even if they didn't get the title of Holy Glory, at least they wouldn't lose too badly. Furthermore, looking at the bigger picture, the remaining 3 members of the supernatural organization were already the last fig leaf of the North American supernatural world. Looking at the other major regions in the spirit world, there were basically dozens of people from each major region who made it to the final round of the arena. Only the North American spiritual world had Gaia, Hallis, and Elite. If they were eliminated in the first round, the North American spiritual world would be in a slump for another 10 years. Of course, there was a more direct way to inspire the North American spiritual world: let Chen Zhao participate in the Holy Glory battle. Chapter 23:48. Clearly, Chen Zhao wouldn't participate. Even if he wanted to, Zhang Tianyi and 23rd Blood Mary wouldn't let him. If Chen Zhao participated, with his personality, he would probably eliminate everyone from the other teams. Then he would leave all 10 spots for his own team members. Chen Zhao would definitely do something like that. Chen Zhao glanced at Zhirlin on the bed. She was sleeping soundly at the moment. But Chen Zhao definitely couldn't leave her alone in the bedroom. So, he used dark lava to gently lift her up. She wouldn't feel any strong movements. Soon, Chen Zhao carried Zhirlin to the hotel where the members of the supernatural organization were staying. There were also many spiritualists staying in this hotel. But it was different from the hotel Chen Zhao was staying in. This hotel was for the teams participating in the Battle of Holy Glory. It could be said that the organizers of the Battle of Holy Glory had booked the entire place. Chen Zhao knocked on West's door. The 10 team members were all in his room. Chen Zhao placed Zhirlin in West's bedroom. Then, he walked to the others. "Gaia, how is it? Haven't you recovered?" Chen Zhao realized that Gaia was in low spirits. He glanced at Elite and Helis, who were sitting side by side. They were also frowning. Gaia sighed. "It's not about our condition. We just don't have much confidence in the upcoming arena trials." Chen Zhao was a bit surprised. He didn't think that even the usually confident Gaia would be so pessimistic. The arena trials can actually give you so much pressure. We've come into contact with quite a number of participants and seen quite a few battles. We realize that not only are many spiritualists strong, but they also have a strong restraining effect on us. It can't be that coincidental that you guys met them. Didn't they say that it's all random? It's random, West said. But it's also based on ability. Some special spiritualists can use magic to pick the right person. So, the drawing isn't completely fair. That's right. The drawing of lots is a competition in itself. Even so, you shouldn't be completely unconfident. It's not to the extent of having no confidence at all, but it's just that I'm not confident, Gaia said. Okay. Since that's the case, let me help you build confidence again. Chen Zhao clapped his hands. Let's find a big place and spar. There's a large-scale barrier under the hotel that's specially used for spiritualists to spar and spar. There's actually such a place in the hotel. This hotel specializes in providing services for spiritualists. Not only is there a large-scale barrier, but there are also magic shops, spirit medium services, and magic trading centers. If there's a chance in the future, I should really come here and take a look. Of course, now was definitely not the time. After all, they still had business to attend to. The group arrived at the lowest level of the hotel. Judging from the environment, this should be the second floor of the underground garage. However, it had already been modified, and there were many signs of the supernatural world on it. Moreover, the only way to get down here was through the introduction of magic power in the elevator. The other entrances and exits were also sealed. This was to prevent ordinary people from accidentally entering this place. After all, the hotel was open to the public, and ordinary people would occasionally check in. At this hour, there were still people coming and going. Furthermore, all of them were spiritualists. It seemed that spiritualists were also nocturnal creatures. Where's the barrier? Chen Zhao asked. There's someone in charge there. Chen Zhao followed the group to a sealed area. Although the outside was blocked by walls, Chen Zhao's little world could still pass through them. However, when Chen Zhao's senses tried to go deeper, it was blocked by a pure magical barrier. This magical barrier was probably the barrier that West had mentioned. When the group arrived at the entrance, they were stopped by a female spiritualist from outside this area. Hi, Quinn, West greeted him. There's a team inside, the spiritualist called Quinn said. How much longer? West asked. Half an hour. Is there anyone else after that? Nope. Okay, then we'll make a reservation in half an hour. Reserve 3 hours for us first. West paid the deposit and waited outside obediently with the group. Chen Zhao also waited obediently. He didn't plan on breaking the rules here. However, after half an hour, the people inside still didn't seem to want to come out. Why isn't it done yet? West looked at Quinn. Quinn was a bit unhappy too. She was the representative for the barrier. She relied on this to collect some fees and cash in the special area. Therefore, what she hated the most was other people dawdling. It was time, but they still didn't want to come out. Follow me. Quinn led the way inside. When Chen Zhao entered, he saw a magical barrier that covered an area of around 1,000 square meters. Inside the magic barrier, there were 5 to 6 spiritualists, and 2 of them were sparring with each other. Hey, Moabi, Quinn called, your time's up. Just then, a spiritualist came to the edge of the barrier. We still need to use it. We'll pay you after we go out. Quinn hesitated for a moment and then shook her head. The rest of the time has been reserved. You have to leave and come out. Is it them? Moabi looked at West and the others. You're from North America. Let me think. Sorry, I don't remember. Moabi's expression was frivolous and provocative. Clearly, as the only representative of the supernatural world in North America, no one had high hopes for them in this spiritualist event. Many people even felt that the supernatural organization's team could participate not because of their strength. It was just because they were from North America. It was like the regional quota in football. Are you going to use the barrier too? What for? You're wasting time. Moabi continued to mock them without holding back. How about you leave this place to us? We'll show you what a high-end battle is. Moabi, you'd better watch your words. If you continue to speak so carelessly, I will forever refuse to let you and your team members use this venue. Quinn was doing business here. She didn't like Moabi's provocative and troublesome behavior. She hoped that everyone would follow her rules, pay honestly, and use the place without interfering with each other. The members of the supernatural organization were obviously very unhappy. Of course, Chen Zhao was the most unhappy. Open the barrier, Chen Zhao said. What? What are you doing? Going in to teach them a lesson. 9 Heavens Divine King. Chapter 23:49. Cain looked at West and the others. West was helpless. He wanted to say something. But Moabi spoke first. Teach me a lesson. I'll let you use one hand, Moabi said arrogantly. Or both hands. Is that enough? Moabi, I think you should just stand there and not move. Even if you don't do anything, he won't be able to beat you. Moabi's companion smiled. It seemed that they were very confident in Moabi's abilities. Of course, it was also because Chen Zhao and the others were spiritualists from North America. In the spiritual world, there was severe regional discrimination. For example, spiritualists from Huaxia, North America, and Europe would take a magic exam. One of the questions was, what should they do if they encountered an evil spirit? For the spiritualists from Huaxia and Europe, this was a technical question. For the spiritualists from North America, it was a math question. Because the spiritualists from Huaxia and Europe would write down the methods to destroy the evil spirit. On the other hand, the spiritualists from North America would have to calculate how many people they would need to destroy the evil spirit. Although this was just a regional joke, it also showed how weak the spiritual world in North America was. Almost all major events in the spiritual world were ruled out from North America first. Even Cain, who was neutral right now, didn't have high hopes for Chen Zhao. Teach Moabi a lesson. He wasn't the strongest, but he had a certain reputation in the spiritual world. Chen Zhao actually lost his mind because of Moabi's provocation. However, Chen Zhao had actually lost his mind because of Moabi's provocation. Now, the people from the supernatural organization were already very displeased. Even the low-profile West didn't plan on stopping Chen Zhao anymore. Cain, we're using this barrier now, so we have the right to ask anyone to go up. Am I right? Cain looked hesitantly at Moabi and the others in the barrier. If you want us to leave, sure. Defeat any one of us. Moabi seemed to be certain that Chen Zhao and the others couldn't do anything to them, so he became even more arrogant. At the same time, he gave Chen Zhao a thumbs down. Everyone from the supernatural organization stared at Chen Zhao with a dark expression. Open the barrier. Chen Zhao's expression was also dark. He had never cultivated his heart and mind. Never. Chen Zhao's current strength didn't come from cultivating his mind. All of them had grown step by step through battles. In the end, Cain still opened the barrier. Moabi stared arrogantly at Chen Zhao, who had just entered the barrier. What, just you alone? Are you sure you don't want 2 helpers? If they come up, they'll stop me, Chen Zhao said indifferently. Stop you? That's right. For an idiot like you who is seeking death, they are indeed trying to stop you from doing stupid things. Cain looked at the people in the barrier and then at West. Are you sure you don't want to stop him? No, I think some people do need to suffer, West said matter-of-factly. Cain was also clear on whether West was referring to the Asian who had entered or Moabi and the others when he said, some people. She really couldn't see any chance of Chen Zhao winning. Chen Zhao walked toward Moabi. Can we start? Moabi was still arrogant, his hands behind his back. Come, you can start your attack. Chen Zhao wouldn't go easy on him. He suddenly charged towards Moabi and threw a punch. Bang! Instantly, Moabi's body stretched strangely. Then his entire body bounced out, smashing into the barrier and bouncing back. Surprised, Chen Zhao lifted his foot. Bang! Like a ball, Moabi was kicked away again. But after bouncing a few times on the opposite side of the barrier, he shot toward Chen Zhao again. Interesting. So it's a rubber man. Chen Zhao had heard of some special strengthening spells. This rubber man was clearly one of them. Like the main character in a certain comic, his body had the elasticity of rubber. Moreover, this elasticity didn't just work against physical attacks. Even magical attacks would be turned into potential energy by the rubber man. It was like borrowing force to fight force. No matter how much force the enemy used to hit him, he could use his elasticity to release it. He could also use the opportunity to bounce back. This was also why Moabi was so arrogant. He didn't care even if Qin Zhao had to use both hands. Qin Zhao sent Moabi flying again. This time, Qin Zhao's strength was 10 times stronger. The bouncing sound in the barrier was even clearer. Moreover, Moabi had lost control of the direction of his ejection. When Qin Zhao's strength was transmitted to him, he could clearly feel it. How terrifying was Qin Zhao's strength! At this moment, he finally couldn't laugh and talk as freely as before. 100 tons of force seemed to be easy for him. Let's try 500 tons of force. Paw, 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 paw. Even the sound of Moabi's ejection changed. Ah! One of Moabi's companions was knocked down by Moabi and instantly lost consciousness. Hurry! Hurry! Help! Me! Stop! Moabi was actually speaking coherently, but his voice was blurred and sluggish. It was mainly because he'd ejected too quickly. He'd completely lost control of his body. Even 500 tons of force didn't completely break him down. Hiss. Try 1,000 tons. Qin Zhao punched again. This time, the sound was extremely dull. Moabi coughed out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, 3 of his companions had lost consciousness because of his ejection. This time, Qin Zhao didn't make him eject in all directions. Instead, he made him eject in a straight line. It was like bouncing a ball against a wall. No matter how fast Moabi's ejection was, Qin Zhao could still keep up with his punch. Paw, 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 the barrier flickered. Kane's expression changed slightly. This was a sign that the barrier's magic was unstable. However, the barrier was so strong that it was almost indestructible. Qin Zhao suddenly increased his strength by 10 times. Boom! This time, Kane didn't bounce back. Instead, he was embedded into the barrier. The barrier didn't completely recover. A human-shaped hole appeared in it. The hole was filled with cracks. West watched all this calmly. At the same time, he took out a check. Sorry for breaking your barrier. The supernatural organization isn't very strong, but we have money. Moabi's surviving companions heard West's words and felt that they were extremely harsh. Chapter 2350. Qin Zhao looked at those people. He clenched his fists so hard that they cracked. However, those few people felt their blood run cold when they heard it. How strong was Moabi? They knew it the best. Actually, Moabi's attack power was average. However, his passive counterattack ability was something that few people could withstand. However, Moabi had suffered a lot today. Qin Zhao had basically used his upper limit to defeat him. Are you going to scram, or do I have to throw you out? Qin Zhao asked the spiritualists. The spiritualists lowered their heads and fled with the unconscious Moabi and a few other companions. However, Qin Zhao still felt a bit strange. He knew how much power he'd used. In terms of damage tolerance alone, Moabi was already higher than everyone else in the supernatural organization's team. And it wasn't just a little bit. It was much, much higher. Even Gaia, who had the best defense, only had a defense limit of 100 tons when she transformed into her dragon form. But when Qin Zhao had attacked Moabi, he'd used 5,000 tons of power. What did that mean? Moabi's defense limit was 50 times higher than Gaia's. Of course, it didn't mean that Moabi was 50 times stronger than Gaia. It could only be said that Moabi was specialized in this. But if one ability was outstanding, he would have a corresponding breakthrough in other areas too. Qin Zhao was sure that Moabi's other areas were extraordinary. And this was just one person. In the final trial of the Battle of the Holy Glorious Ones, there were many spiritualists more outstanding and powerful than Moabi. It was no wonder that Gaia, Helis, and Enrich were so dispirited. Of course, every spell had its own weakness or a magic system that countered it. They couldn't be absolutely invincible. Helis, Gaia, and Enrich worked together. But they couldn't do any damage to Qin Zhao. Helis' abyss demons were once Qin Zhao's opponents. However, the current abyssal demons were a thing of the past. Qin Zhao was now many times more powerful than before. In the past, the demons could at least harm Qin Zhao. But now, this unconscious body only had 70% of its power when it was alive. It couldn't harm Qin Zhao at all. Gaia's strongest form was her dragon form. However, even if she transformed into a dragon, she would only be in the form of a young dragon. Her body could only reach about 15 meters. Coupled with dragon's might and dragon's breath, he displayed impressive combat prowess. However, Gaia in his dragon form was not that powerful. As for Enrich, he really had no advantage over Qin Zhao in terms of speed. However, the battle between the four of them was full of tricks. After all, they were the top fighters of the supernatural organization. After such a long period of cultivation, they had each grasped or developed some trump cards. Of course, he wouldn't use these trump cards on Qin Zhao. Putting aside whether or not it would be effective against Qin Zhao, using their trump cards would put a certain burden on themselves. They didn't want their condition to decline before the final trial arena opened. Actually, they weren't trying to find any secrets from him. Or they could ask Qin Zhao to give them advice. In fact, Qin Zhao couldn't give them any advice. From start to finish, Qin Zhao had been fighting straightforwardly. He didn't use any fancy moves or techniques. It could even be said that Qin Zhao wasn't stronger than any of them in terms of battle techniques. Qin Zhao was able to defeat them purely because of his superior level. They wanted pressure. They wanted to work hard to adapt to Qin Zhao's pressure. If one day, they could adapt to Qin Zhao's attacks, then they might not be invincible. But there was almost no one who could defeat them. This was what they needed. So, Qin Zhao suppressed his power as much as possible. At the same time, he suppressed the three of them. After fighting for 3 hours, Gaia, Helis, and Enric's only achievement was destroying Qin Zhao's expensive clothes. They'd already used up all their magic and stamina. On the other hand, Qin Zhao stood there half-naked. West and the others stood outside the barrier. After a while, they turned around and went out, spending another 3 hours. After a short rest, Gaia, Helis, and Enrich started a new round of attacks. But it was too slow for them to recover like this. Qin Zhao used his domain to forcibly recover their magic. Of course, this method of forcibly restoring mana was not that wonderful. It was like a person being forced to eat food. Qin Zhao was used to this kind of intense recovery. But it didn't mean that others could get used to it. No, it wasn't a habit. It was more like acceptance. To Qin Zhao, it was as simple as breathing. But to Gaia, Helis, and Helis, it was like using a balloon to inflate their bodies. 3 hours passed. Another 3 hours passed. From early morning to the evening of the next day. Apart from asking West to take care of Jerlin, Qin Zhao didn't spend any other time with them. He spent the rest of the time with Gaia, Helis, and Enrich. But it was about time. If they continued, they'd really be hurt badly. Even if Qin Zhao could continuously recover their magic. But their willpower and physical fatigue had reached their limits. If they continued, they'd really be crippled. Qin Zhao gave them some medicine so that they could rest. He basically had nothing to do with the supernatural organization's team. After dinner, Chen Zhao carried Jerlin out to the night market. Istanbul also had a bustling night market. Different from most European and American cities, Istanbul's night market had more of an Eastern atmosphere. Chen Zhao carried Jerlin to a rather famous local night market. When the father and daughter arrived, there was already a sea of people. The not-so-spacious market was packed with people. Everyone basically brushed shoulders with each other. Chen Zhao could only put Jerlin on his neck. Jerlin was in charge. If she wanted to buy something, Chen Zhao would just snort. "Papa, Papa. Go there, go there." "Which way?" "Over there. The one with the colorful sign." "What's that for sale?" Even Chen Zhao couldn't unleash his domain in such a chaotic environment. When he looked up, he could only see other people's heads. "Right there, right there. Go forward." Chen Zhao carried Jerlin and squeezed through the crowd. Finally, he stopped before the shop Jerlin pointed at. However, this shop didn't fit in with the atmosphere of the market. The lights were dim and there weren't many people inside. Chapter 2351. The shop wasn't big, but it looked like an alley. Especially under the dim light that alternated between light and dark, it looked very deep. Chen Zhao walked into the shop. There were many masks on both sides of the shop. But looking at the masks, Chen Zhao found them rather strange. Chen Zhao picked up a mask and tried it on his face. But he could still feel faint magic from the mask. This wasn't a normal shop. Chen Zhao didn't know what the mask was for. He didn't dare to let Jerlin play with it. The masks looked very creepy. Who knew if there would be something bad? Chen Zhao looked around and realized that there was someone in the corner of the shop. The person was sharpening a mask with a file. He also had faint magic on him. His tools and materials were all messily placed. He wore a pair of thick glasses. There were also a dozen different masks hanging on his waist. When he saw Chen Zhao, he was first stunned. Then he looked at the mask in Chen Zhao's hand. "Spiritualist?" the person asked uncertainly. Chen Zhao nodded. "You too?" "Sort of." "What do you mean sort of?" Chen Zhao asked. "I can feel the magic on you. I'm not a traditional sorcerer or sorcerer. It's only because my ancestors have mastered a special skill that I was able to come into contact with the supernatural world. However, I don't know any magic or sorcery. We call ourselves the mask sorcerers." "Special skill? Are you talking about this mask?" "Yes," the masker said. "What's the use of this mask?" "To change one's aura," the masker said. "It's like what we often say. Some superstar has a strong aura, or someone has a good aura." With that, the masker held the half-finished mask in front of Chen Zhao. Suddenly, Chen Zhao felt that the person behind the mask was a cultured professor. But the mess on him made him look like he'd just finished an experiment in the lab. The masked master put down the mask in his hand. In an instant, his unique aura disappeared. He turned back into the unkempt craftsman. "Papa, Papa, I want that. Give it to me." Jerlin pointed at the mask hanging on the wall excitedly. "Even children can wear it. This isn't meant to be worn, it's effective as long as it's on the person's body. The one in my hand is a half-finished product. As for children, this mask only changes the person's temperament. It won't change anything else, so it's meaningless to children. Because a person's first sense is their vision, when people see a child, they take it for granted that the person is a child. When their first sense can't determine the person's identity, their feelings will take over. This mask is misleading, not a scam." "Fine. Apart from scamming, I can't think of any other use for this mask. Chen Zhao shrugged with a smile. The masked master shrugged casually. If you insist, then there's nothing I can do. Papa. I want. Zhilin looked at Chen Zhao, feeling wronged. Chen Zhao completely ignored her request. Fine. There were very few things that could make Chen Zhao lose. This time, the father and daughter had clearly been tricked by the masker. Damn it, don't let that asshole fall into my hands. Chen Zhao was filled with hatred. He made up his mind. If he met the masker again, he would pull out his tendons and skin him alive. Just then, another group of people came. Chen Zhao was quite familiar with the leader of this group. The 23rd Blood Mary. Chapter 2352. The 23rd Blood Mary was also surprised to see Chen Zhao here. She told her people to go in first while she walked toward Chen Zhao. Grandma Mary, little Zhilin still called out obediently. The 23rd generation Blood Mary also showed a gentle and kind smile to little Zhilin. Darling, you're here too. 23rd generation Blood Mary took over and carried little Zhilin. Chen, let's sit over there. Okay. Along the way, the 23rd generation Blood Mary hypnotized little Zhilin. The two found a bench by the street and sat down. Chen, did you get the news and come here first? News? What news? Mary 23 turned to look at Chen Zhao. She was trying to tell if Chen Zhao was playing dumb or if he really didn't know. After a while, Mary said, Nine-tailed fox Tamamonome appeared in Istanbul. Chen Zhao's expression was very interesting. First, he was shocked, then confused, and then angry. Suddenly, he understood the source of the awkwardness he felt just now. The mask maker he saw was none other than Tamamonome. He should have guessed it long ago. Her first reaction when she saw him was shock. That wasn't a reaction when she saw a guest. If she was a real mask maker, she should have gotten used to guests. Neither a normal person nor a spiritualist should have that reaction. She'd recognized him, which was why she'd reacted like that. She didn't expect him to appear here either. She didn't expect to reunite under such circumstances. Chen Zhao didn't notice it. It was because of her aura. She didn't just change her appearance. Her aura was also different. She was like a real mask maker. She'd also hinted that the real use of the mask wasn't to wear it on the face. She just had to carry it with her. She'd also had a dozen masks hanging on her waist. But this way, Chen Zhao owed her a favor. She knew that the masks were made of human skin. That was why she dissuaded him from buying those masks for Zhilin. Why is she here? I don't know. Then how do you know she's here? Chen Zhao didn't completely believe everything the 23rd Blood Mary said. This old woman was as good at tricking people as Zhang Tianyi. Mary, the 23rd generation, could also feel Chen Zhao's distrust. He said, I really don't know why Tamamo no Mei is here. We received a call from her. She called the Holy Glory organization and said that she was here. If we didn't come quickly, she would start killing people. That's why we rushed here. Are you saying that she exposed her whereabouts on her own? And on purpose? The 23rd Blood Mary added, we couldn't figure out her intentions either. Then, the Istanbul Orthodox Church sent people over. They were the ones you saw just now. Then, I took over. The 23rd generation Blood Mary paused and said, then we found those bodies. Did Tamamonome kill him? We can't come to a conclusion yet, but our preliminary judgment is that she wasn't the one who killed it, but the owner of the shop. The 23rd generation Blood Mary's face was pale. The owner of the shop is making his horrible and twisted masks with human skin. Moreover, we also found a large number of remains under the turf behind the shop. There were hundreds of them, and the time span of the victims spanned decades. What about the owner of the mask shop? He's dead. He was probably killed by Tamamo no Mae. In other words, Tamamo no Mae's role in this incident isn't that of a villain. Instead, she's a positive person who reveals the dark truth. And she even killed the bastard who caused the massacre? That seems to be the case. The 23rd generation Blood Mary nodded. But don't you think it's suspicious? A powerful demon would actually come all the way to Istanbul and cause trouble for a butcher who has nothing to do with her. It's not normal no matter how I think about it. Chen Zhao also found it unusual. Imagine a battle maniac suddenly coming to a small village to punish evil and promote good. It wouldn't be a simple righteous act. In terms of evil, the owner of the mask shop might not be as evil as Tamamo no Mae. So, even Chen Zhao believed that Tamamo no Mae had her own motives. This was also why the 23rd generation Blood Mary was nervous. After all, if Tamamo no Mae had any tricks up her sleeves, it wouldn't be a small fight. Even the 23rd generation Blood Mary wasn't confident that she could handle it. After all, Tamamo no Mae was still in the dark. One could only be a thief for 1,000 days, not a thief for 1,000 days. Not to mention that Tamamo no Mae was hiding. Even if she revealed her true form and caused a ruckus in Istanbul, that would cause a terrifying earthquake. As for Chen Zhao, he was quite dissatisfied with Tamamo no Mae's concealment. However, he was completely uninvolved in this matter. Even if he had some grudges with Tamamo no Mae, it didn't mean that he had to get involved. Chen Zhao would never do something that would bring trouble to himself. The 23rd generation Blood Mary had seen Chen Zhao appear nearby and thought that he knew something. If Chen Zhao could get involved, it would be a great help to her. After all, Chen Zhao had defeated Tamamo no Mae before. So, he had the most right to speak on Tamamo no Mae's matter. But when she heard Chen Zhao's reply, she was instantly disappointed. Not only did Chen Zhao know nothing about it, but from his attitude, it was clear that he planned to stay out of it. Of course, Chen Zhao stayed out of it because of Tamamo no Mae. He had defeated Tamamo no Mae before. But Tamamo no Mae had 2 divine weapons. Especially the Kusanagi sword. It was a weapon that could make Chen Zhao feel threatened. If it wasn't necessary, Chen Zhao really didn't want to fight to the death with Tamamo no Mae. Tamamo no Mae was too dangerous. She also had the other divine weapon, Yada no Kagami. Tamamo no Mae might have already figured out how to use the 2 divine weapons. If Chen Zhao wasn't careful, he might end up in her hands. Do you have any other information? Seeing that she couldn't convince Chen Zhao to get involved, Mary could only take a step back and hope that she could get some useful information. Chen Zhao thought back to the entire process of meeting Tamamo no Mae's mask master in the mask shop. Suddenly, Chen Zhao remembered the fox mask. Little Jerlin had wanted it, but Tamamo no Mae had stopped her. Judging from the texture and feel of the mask, it should be an item from a long time ago. It shouldn't have been made from the skin of the victims. Could the fox mask be related to Tamamo no Mae's operation this time? Chapter 2353. Chen Zhao didn't tell 23rd Blood Mary about this. Not far away, the mask shop kept bringing out items. Everything was packed up. 23rd Blood Mary hurried to take care of it. Chen Zhao didn't linger either. He carried Jerlin and left. He passed by the coastal park. The lights were dim here. There were many tourists. It looked like the night view of the coastal cities in China. Not far away, a beautiful woman sat cross-legged on a stone block. Chen Zhao walked over to the woman. When he reached the stone block, he looked up at the woman. "Long time no see," Chen Zhao greeted her. The woman wore jeans and a strapless top. She supported her chin with one hand. Her hair fell over her shoulders and waist. She had some makeup on, but she looked extremely flirtatious. "I'm surprised," the woman said coolly. "I didn't think we'd meet again like this. I didn't think we'd meet again. It's fate, I guess." Chen Zhao also smiled faintly. His gaze landed on the woman's waist. He could faintly see the fox mask under her hair. "Thank you for helping me get this mask." Chen Zhao was a bit surprised. "It's hanging there. Anyone can get it. I can't think of a reason to thank me. Your daughter is a guide and you're a spellbreaker. I waited in that shop for 3 days but couldn't find the mask until you and your daughter appeared." "You mean, some kind of spell was cast on the mask?" "Yes." "Then what does the mask mean to you?" "The green hill leaves, the white bones mourn, the endless yellow sand, the golden millet in my dream, the long way home, the mirage is ethereal, the tearful eyes, the green gauze curtain." "What's this poem called?" "I've never heard of it." "Is there more?" Chen Zhao really didn't know much about poetry. He'd never heard of the woman's poem either. "Whatever, you're a common person. I don't want to talk to you anymore." Chen Zhao pouted. "Fuck, you're calling me a common person just because I've never heard of this poem. That's too much." The woman stood up. "I'm leaving." "Okay, goodbye. I made those masks. They're just ordinary toys. After I came out of the seal, I learned some craftsmanship in Japan. Did you throw them away?" The woman looked at Chen Zhao unhappily. "No." Chen Zhao took out the mask. He had placed it in his spatial ring. The woman nodded in satisfaction. "Your daughter is so talented. How about becoming my disciple?" Hee, if you don't want to, then so be it. It's not good to be so sarcastic." If a woman was unhappy, Chen Zhao wouldn't accommodate her. Although they couldn't be considered as mortal enemies, they couldn't be considered friends either. What's more, this woman had a notorious reputation. Letting his daughter be her disciple would really have no future. The woman pulled a strand of hair from her head. "It's for your daughter. I've seen stingy people, but I've never seen someone so stingy." Chen Zhao's face twitched. "Is your hair made of gold?" Guanyin Bodhisattva gave the monkey at least 3 strands of hair, and you only gave 1 strand of hair. This strand of hair of mine is a secret technique of the Green Mountains. It's called black hair, not in vain. What's the use? As long as you wear an accessory with this strand of hair, you won't be deceived." Chen Zhao was a bit stunned. Then he licked his face and accepted the strand of hair happily. "I have a daughter. I plan to have a few more in the future." "Your hair seems pretty good," the woman's face twitched. She turned into a wisp of smoke. "Fuck," she ran so fast. Chen Zhao murmured, recalling the poem the woman had just chanted. This woman was too strange. Or was there something hidden in the poem? If he looked at it literally, it was like the inner monologue of someone who was looking for a way home. Tamamo Mei was looking for a way home. Legend had it that the 9-tailed fox's hometown was Qingqiu. But according to modern scholars, the legendary Qingqiu should be in Gaoqing County, Hezi, Shandong. How could there be miles of yellow sand in Shandong? Whatever. This had nothing to do with him. He shouldn't think too much. Chen Zhao shook his head. This wasn't his expertise either. Even Feilai might be better at it than him. Feilai's lips moved from feng shui to studying metaphysics and ancient Huaxia's supernatural theories. Chen Zhao decided to talk to Feilai later and see if she could discover anything. The next day was the final trial of the Battle of the Holy Glory. All the participants would enter the final ring. All the teams were split up to draw lots, so it was possible to draw one of their own team members during the draw. Of course, even during the drawing of lots, there was no lack of Dharma spells and divine powers. As long as one was capable, it was possible to get a bye. This seemed like cheating, but it was actually giving some people a chance. Some people were just not good at fighting. They'd had to go through so many difficulties. Now that they were good at something and were forbidden from using what they were good at, the Battle of the Holy Glory would be meaningless. They could just set up a ring at the beginning. The Battle of the Holy Glory was a grand event in the spiritual world because the decennial Battle of the Holy Glory didn't just choose the strongest person. Of course, the one with the strongest combat power had a great advantage. Just like the church's team, Matthew's team members were extremely strong and rarely had a worthy opponent. Thus, they were the seeded team for this Battle of the Holy Glory. But there were a few seeded teams and many dark horse teams. In short, it was like the 8 immortals crossing the sea. Whoever had the ability to walk to the end and stand in the final ring with their own abilities had nothing to say. The final trial wasn't held in the Four Seasons Palace. Instead, it was in another alternate space. It was a vast and boundless grassland. Chen Zhao carried little Zhilin. When he came to this alternate space, he was even a bit surprised. In terms of area, this alternate space was even larger than the Wasteland Market. Of course, in terms of scale, it definitely couldn't compare to the Wasteland Market. The Wasteland Market had projections of buildings in the real world. It was a masterpiece created by the efforts of countless spiritualists over thousands of years. The alternate space they were in now was very simple. There were only lush turf and sunlight shining in from the real world. Spiritualists kept coming in from the outside. They were more or less like Chen Zhao. They were all spectators. The participants of the Battle of the Holy Glory had already come last night. They came here first mainly to familiarize themselves with the environment. Just then, a figure appeared in the sky. The figure appeared from the source of light. Under the illumination of the light, it looked extremely majestic. It's Grandpa's celestial master. Zhilin shouted, pointing at the figure in the sky, bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 2354. Today, Zhang Tianyi was dressed in traditional Daoist clothing. He wore a white robe and held a horsetail whisk in one hand and a sword hilt in the other. He wore a jade crown on his head and his gaze was sharp and solemn. Zhang Tianyi stepped through the air, and everyone immediately made way for him. Zhang Tianyi waved the horsetail whisk in his hand, and a wisp of clear air spread out. Everyone felt a wave of fresh air brushing past their faces. Tianzhao Yuanjing, therefore you have thoughts. Only the 3 pure ones can flourish. May you always be with me. The moment Zhang Tianyi opened his mouth, he spoke a Daoist mantra. Most of the people present did not understand what he was saying. Chen Zhao vaguely remembered that there was such a passage in a Daoist book he had bought for Feilai. It wasn't that Chen Zhao had seen it before. Feilai had read it when she was studying. This book seemed to be called the Records of the Supreme True Words of the 3 Pure Ones. When Chen Zhao had first heard Feilai read it, he had felt that it was choppy and he couldn't understand it at all. But when Zhang Tianyi recited this, Chen Zhao felt the surrounding spiritual qi move around Zhang Tianyi. At this moment, someone in the crowd cried out in alarm. Heavens, I've broken through. Great Celestial Master, please accept my bow. After saying that, the man bowed his head and kowtowed. He kept knocking his head on the turf, knocking it again and again. Chen Zhao pursed his lips. Was this guy hired by Zhang Tianyi? At this moment, people in the crowd broke through one after another. Only then did Chen Zhao believe that Zhang Tianyi wasn't bluffing with his Daoist words just now. It really had a magical effect. Unfortunately, Chen Zhao didn't feel anything. Alright, you can all leave. Zhang Tianyi waved his horsetail whisk again, and all the people who were kneeling on the ground were lifted up by an invisible hand. Zhang Tianyi took a few more steps forward and stopped again. Earth fighting formation, gold probing hand, 10,000 nourishing water. Zhang Tianyi threw out a small gold nugget. The gold nugget began to twist and wriggle as it grew larger. It was originally the size of a fish, but in the blink of an eye, it became the size of a basketball. In the next instant, the squirming thing suddenly exploded, and a large amount of water gushed out. The water seemed to be endless as it spread in all directions. But when he reached the crowd, he stopped. Sky wall limit, water shape, 1,000 trees fill the top. Soon after, a towering tree grew out of the swamp. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would have thought that it was a 1,000-year-old tree. However, under the urging of Zhang Tianyi's spell, the towering tree once again ignited with raging flames. What Zhang Tianyi used was the 5 elemental dharma, although the 5 elemental dharma was a relatively common dharma spell in Taoism. But when Zhang Tianyi used it, it was miraculous and extraordinary, as if it was an immortal technique. Using that small and ordinary piece of gold to create a swamp was exactly in line with the 5 elements' mutual generation of metal and water. Then, water gave birth to wood, wood gave birth to fire, fire gave birth to earth, and earth gave birth to metal. Of course, the gung metal was no longer ordinary gold. Instead, it was an extremely rare material. Grandpa Heavenly Master's spells are so fun, I want to learn them too, then he's doing magic. I really don't know if he's bored or something. Chen Zhao scoffed. Zhang Tianyi looked at Chen Zhao from afar. It was noisy, but Zhang Tianyi still heard Chen Zhao's words. But now was not the time to argue with Chen Zhao. Holding the gung metal in his hand, Zhang Tianyi said, "This is the gung metal of the 5 elements. Celestial Master, why did you forge this in front of everyone?" No one dared to question Zhang Tianyi at all. They did not think that Zhang Tianyi's actions were confusing. They only felt that they were not smart enough to understand Zhang Tianyi's intentions. In addition to this piece of gung metal, I've also hidden 4 other 5 elemental extraordinary items here. They are water element, fire element, stone element, and wood element. If these 5 elemental extraordinary items are combined into one, they will be able to break through all defensive techniques in the world and seal the opponent's 5 elemental energy. Hearing Zhang Tianyi's words, everyone was in an uproar. Force control spells were actually defensive spells. In other words, no matter what spell the opponent used, it could be broken. Moreover, it could seal the opponent's 5 elements power. In other words, as long as it was metal, wood, water, fire, and earth spells, they would all be sealed. This was equivalent to taking off the opponent's clothes and tying them up so that they could not attack. After all, most spells in the world were related to or branched from the 5 elements. Even though the Western spiritual world did not have the 5 elements theory, most spells still followed the principle of the 5 elements reinforcing and restraining each other. As long as you're a fellow Daoist here, you can search for these 5 wondrous items. As long as you find 4 of them and combine them with this gung metal in my hand, you'll be able to form the Spellbreaker hairpin. The item will belong to whoever manages to form it. Also, if you're a participant in the Battle of Holy Glory, as long as you successfully form the Spellbreaker hairpin, you'll be able to obtain the title of Holy Glory. The crowd was in an uproar again. Celestial Master, I don't mean to offend you, but your rule is unfair to most spiritualists. After all, if it was just a competition in the ring, it would still be a competition of strength. But if the title of Holy Glory Cultivator was decided this way, the final outcome would become very complicated. Individual combat ability would no longer be the deciding factor. This was why many people felt that it was unfair. But Zhang Tianyi did not think so. I'm giving those participants who aren't good at fighting a chance. If anyone has any objections, you can step forward. I'm not being unreasonable. Zhang Tianyi said that he was being reasonable, but his attitude was completely unreasonable. He was not discussing with others at all. He was just here to inform them. At the same time, Zhang Tianyi raised his right hand, and the originally flat turf suddenly bulged. A slope appeared in front of everyone. Zhang Tianyi casually waved his hand, and the originally uneven slope was suddenly cut off. The slope became flat and smooth. This move directly dissuaded those who were about to argue with Zhang Tianyi. Zhang Tianyi flew above the platform and used a divine ability to divide the platform into 5 parts. Each part of the platform was engraved with the words metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Now, I'm going to talk about the rules of this ring. Zhang Tianyi said, these 5 rings correspond to metal, wood, water, fire, and earth respectively. If your magic attribute happens to correspond to the 5 elements, then you will be automatically enhanced or suppressed. Of course, in addition to choosing your opponent, each contestant also needs to choose a ring. If you are defeated or fall off the ring, you will lose. If the winner kills the opponent, it will also be regarded as being eliminated and will be severely punished. So, you'd better not take revenge in the ring. If any of you think you can escape from the old Taoist size, just do it. Alright, let's start drawing lots now. Because there are a total of 510 participants, there will be 2 people in the first round who will advance directly. As for the losers, they will be directly eliminated. There are no revival matches in this ring, so please take each match seriously. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.